Is ready. Why don't we call this meeting to order? 7:06, the regular meeting of the Pownal plant. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Hey, are you ready? The agenda tonight is to approve the October 17th agenda, approval of the regular meeting, and August 15th, approval of the public hearing meetings, approval of the second public hearing meetings, approval of the work session on October 10th, our mail, our other business to include the zoning administrator's monthly log. The guest tonight is our distinguished colleague, Mr. Batcher. We're going to go over more of the comments on the town plan. And a lot of that will be Mr. Jarvis's. So,
Move we adopt the agenda.
and public comment, which would be you, Bob.
I'll try to speak as little as possible.
Second?
They've done it. Where Sid and Jim did it.
They've already done it. I was listening to our guests. I'm sorry.
You haven't called for a vote, I don't think.
I did call for a vote.
Did you?
Yes,
I
I did.
failed to vote. I vote aye.
Okay. All the ayes?
Ayes.
Any nays? Motion carries. We're rolling. We like that. Agenda. Julie tells me that the October 17th agenda, or the August 15th one, we cannot vote on
No,
because
we can do that one.
we can do that one.
Yes.
Okay. The other ones are the ones that we can't. So if it take a second to take a look at the Tuesday, August 15th regular minutes.
I have to tell you, it took me some time to find them. Oh.
What, have you been busy?
Yeah. Don't even.
Move we approve the minutes of Tuesday, August 15th.
Second?
Yep.
Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Julie. All right. Approval of the public hearing minutes for both the 19th and then the 20th.
These are the ones that we have to table because we don't have the.
Bonnie's not here and...
And Shannon's not here.
Right, okay. So we'll table those two.
Can I have a motion now?
We need a motion
Motion
to
to
table.
table?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on tabling those? If not, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, our work session on October 10th, which was, seems like just yesterday. I have a chance to
I'm
look
still
at it.
working on yesterday's minutes. With these ones, I just attached Shannon's suggested changes
Yep,
and stuff
yep.
that we did, so that I didn't have to type them all out. I just went through where we did some of it, and then I figured just attach the minutes.
It's fine with me. We have a motion to approve these with the attachments.
So moved.
Second? Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let me get everything put aside here that doesn't count anymore. Right, I'm missing stuff already. Okay. Mail.
You want this set too, real quick, side?
Did I have something in here?
You had a letter.
Yeah.
An email letter.
right here.
Yep.
It's escaped me. Thanks. Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, mail.
Here, Julie.
Thank you. This over here is the word. Okay, mail. Hey, we have I printed a letter, so it has an email, a resident off in Hidden Valley Road. Has called, or she wrote a letter because she tried calling Nelson several times to come up to investigate a concern of hers. And she'd done it numerous times, and then I told her you have to call and leave a message because he worked. And she kept calling and he didn't respond back to her. So then I told her that that we do his report, and sometimes he attends our meetings, that to write a letter with her issue, because I don't know what else to do, because a lot of people keep calling saying that he doesn't call them back, he's not, following through, and I said I don't know what to do other than to write a letter to the board, and because he does work
Where do they call him? At home or here?
home. Well, they'll call here and tell us,
When you give
that
them the home
they-
phone?
Right. But I tell him he don't get home until like 4 o'clock, and leave a message because he has meetings and stuff. I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. So I had asked her to write a letter because I didn't know what to do. But then the gentleman that was in question, he did write a letter, because apparently Nelson did finally track him down and asked
The
him.
gentleman that the woman was complaining of,
Who started the business?
no,
Yes.
okay, that's who you're referring
Yes.
to. Okay.
So, he did come in to get a permit, to help, because he's doing a hobby shop at the garage. It's another garage kind of a thing, and so I don't, I don't know what to do when a lot of people call.
Well, you did exactly the
a
right
lot
thing,
of
I
them,
think.
they do, and I don't know, it's not like we can tell him, but I don't know what to do.
Well, what I would recommend is that, just as you did, have her write a letter, put it in the select board's box.
Select board or zoning administrator?
Well, she's writing it. Attention Nelson Brownell, Chairman Select Board.
Oh, okay.
So she's not, she's no longer,
Yeah, it's in
she's no longer addressing the zoning administrator. She's saying, I didn't get satisfaction from that, so I'm gonna go to the select board.
Right, and like I said, I don't know when he's the
Well, he says he checked the place 4 times.
right, and that's
It said
that's
no
why I
actions
wanted
of
to
anything
attach that
going on.
email too, because he did say that he's
So-
gone up there. So
You continue to check again this weekend during the following.
Okay, why don't we have Nelson then, put this letter in Nelson's box and have him contact her directly. And you can tell him we discussed it at the planning commission. Although this is his response directly to her,
Yeah, he
isn't it?
responded to
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
4 times.
I've checked the site 4 times now, twice on weekends, twice during the week, and I've not seen the activity you speak of occurring at the site.
And the persons came in for a permit.
the gentleman did come in for a
Okay,
permit.
all right.
He hasn't
Okay,
done
that's
it
fine.
yet, you know what I mean? But
Okay, but he
He
did get the
he come-
permit,
Yes, I
and
gave him the permit.
so,
And he told him that Nelson has hours on Sundays to come
To bring it in.
Yes.
so I guess what I would do is just check with Nelson from time to time to see if this has been rectified, to see if the guy brought a permit in. I mean,
Me?
if that, well, I don't, you want me to do it as the chairman of the planning commission? Is that why you're bringing this up to the planning commission?
Yeah, I don't think we're involved except we
not.
oversee Nelson.
Right.
I mean, he reports his zoning log to us.
Okay, I'll call him.
Do we have a zoning log tonight? Is there any mention of it?
Hey,
No,
good point.
no, the one we have is for July and August. Because he only reports twice now,
Nelson,
every couple months.
R.E., Janet Salter.
Our phone number's there somewhere.
he's just gonna say to me, I went there 4 times and I responded to her in an email, what else can I do? But,
No, all of these emails took place on the 28th of September.
pretty quick,
Yeah.
pretty quick response.
Well, I don't know
I mean,
whether
her
that
em-
was the date they were copied or what.
Well, her
If you look-
letter is the
If you
28th.
look at the date line, they're all the 28th of September.
Her letter was the 27th and then, yeah, 27th, 28th, so.
Well,
You know, it
no.
looks to me like he's,
Yeah, but if you start, I mean, right here, she started September 1st.
That's what she
Right.
says.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
We
no,
haven't seen it.
Well, I can tell you, she's honestly been in 4 or 5 times here, out front, to come in, and I, tell her I'm sorry that
So-
just
so
trying, but I don't.
her complaint is a zoning violation that this isn't allowed without a permit in the village designation, correct? Is that what, in essence, what she's saying? I mean, she's not complaining, she's complaining about the noise and everything else, she's complaining about all the above. It started with the noise, the fact the guy was starting the hobby shop, and then found out it was without a permit in a zone that requires a permit for such activity. That's my understanding of it, right? Nelson went up there, looked, he couldn't see any sign of it, although probably never spoke to the guy. But then the guy did come in. So somehow there was contact made. So I'll just check with Nelson. I'll say, what's going on with this?
He's just assuming he's in Pownal, he's gonna do it like everybody else.
Gonna do whatever he wants.
Something like that.
Well, our ZA did check on him.
Oh, no,
right,
I
right,
got
4
you, he's
times,
covered.
yeah. Not quite the Wild Wild West, right?
Pownal.
It's Pownal. Okay, I'll call Nelson. I have a few other things to speak to our chairman about.
Okay. Next thing, I have the VLCT Fall Planning and Zoning Forum Wednesday, November 1st, at Sunset Ballroom, Comfort Inn in South Burlington. There we got that.
Thanks. You guys go to that?
I don't.
Well, you guys, I'm not. Yeah.
Guys.
You sent Catherine up to it, I should have. Regional Planning Commission staff are all encouraged to attend,
They
it
are.
says
They're
right
strongly
here.
encouraged.
And the registration deadline is October 25th, and it is on November 1st, what day of the week is that? Do you
A
know?
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
He's interested.
Well, yeah, I am, as a matter of fact. If that can circle back to me after.
And then I have the Town of Bennington proposed amended to the Bennington Town Plan. Do we have those?
An amendment to their town plan?
Yep. And then I got an email to attention to you for the Vermont Local Opinion Leader Survey. The state of
you.
Vermont is seeking input
She's
from
talking to you.
local opinion leaders on potential state and local level for tobacco, alcohol, and marijuana policies. It's a survey with a number, key number. That's all my name like that.
They want me to comment on the local marijuana policy, huh?
I know it's high on your list.
Do you remember the Cheech and Chong thing? How do you plead? I plead insanity. I'm crazy about it.
Catch
I
22,
do.
you can't be insane unless you.
We are on television, aren't we? Damn it.
So are they.
They're amending their energy section.
They are.
Have
They're
they done
developing an
it?
enhanced energy plan.
They have. Are they the only ones that have done it so far? The old enhanced
Apparently
energy?
Dorset might be working on it too.
Did you guys help them with this?
Yeah. I didn't. But
Sullivan did?
Sullivan did. Yeah.
Is the word enhanced a matter of fact or a matter of opinion?
It has to do with, I think, remember I explained the two. There's the Act 174, which is that you have to comply with respect to the Public Utility Commission, and there's the other statutes that are the standard state statutes, and if you can comply with those, then you're good, but you need to go to the 174 to get the deference.
Those are good, too.
It
So-
is all right.
so-
Utility Commission.
Because we don't know when the business.
So this is,
So that's a,
Takes more work.
this will,
That's what you guys need to do.
I didn't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry. So this will, this had the extensive siting studies done, it involved landowners, et cetera. And somewhere in here is probably a map that distinguishes those areas that they've
Presumably.
identified.
Yeah.
So, can I have this? You need it back? Or can you make me another?
You can take it.
Was this mailed to you, or did you print it in that fancy color?
It was me.
Okay. I'd like to see it. Here we go.
You can review it as long as you bring it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna color it and I'm gonna copy it and color and then give everybody a copy of this. So when we're prepared to work on our redo, we have some ideas there aside from what Michael will provide. Oh, here guys. And that's exactly what it is. Extensive citing's been done and identified where wind might go if the Public Utilities Commission so authorizes it, and where solar might go. And I guess the challenge to that is going to be
That's a sure.
meeting with landowners, identifying those properties, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah, it would be a good idea
No doubt. It would be
before you designate an
Optimal.
area. Yeah, yeah. So you may want to have some public forum, or you may want to contact landowners. But yeah.
wow. Okay. So you want me to respond to her on this? Yeah. Okay.
all this now.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
And I won't be a wise guy. I
I
promise.
mean, not to belabor that, but I think the key point is that the town nor the Public Utilities Commission is actually putting anything anywhere. This is private sector wants to build something, and where they can and can't build something.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. So,
Okay. And that, in essence, creates a more solid form of special deference when that in-depth citing's been done. So,
that's my understanding.
okay. Any other?
Mail? No.
You all done?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you want to talk? You want to talk a little bit about the some of the revisions and things that you sent out today that I haven't had a chance to look at yet.
Nelson's report first, so we can.
Oh, I'm sorry. The ZA monthly log. My apologies. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's for
Sorry,
July and August. Number of permits, or number of applications received, 10. Number accepted, 10. Number of permits granted, he did 3 verifications and 7 permits. The permit, or number afforded to the DRB was 0. Permits were for 4 homes, 1 addition, 1 garage, 1 shed. And he did the 3 verifications. He reviewed a 25-foot right-of-way, 2 verification letters from lawyers on property with existing small lots for a home site before permit issued. And that's it.
presumably determining whether the lot was created prior to zoning and thus was buildable. That must have been, reading between the lines, I think that's what that is.
Okay.
It's short and sweet.
Was that a building lot was for a home or for a garage?
For a small lot, for a home.
For a home.
And I know a lot of permits have been coming in. We have another one too on November 1st, by the way. That's for his report, that's all.
You good? I'm fascinated by what this cartoon is. Are you gonna hand that out or?
This
That's been in our
this has been my
folder
folder
for
forever and a
100
day. This is when we
years.
started the town plan.
I was being no filtered.
It was the plan
Where do you-
ahead for 5 years. And this guy's hanging on the wall in a
Asking
dungeon.
him,
And
where do you see yourself in 5
the
years?
guard says, "Where do you envision yourself in 5 years?"
I'm surprised it's still readable.
And I,
Because we all know it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
on the Pownal. I like that cartoon.
It's very current. Yeah.
It does. It does. Okay. All right, moving along. Our guest tonight is our consultant from the BCRC, Michael Batcher. Michael's done a lot of work on a lot of responses to the.
Thank you. This is in addition to last night's.
Yes.
Can I make one suggestion?
Yeah.
Can Mr. Jarvis come to the table?
Can he come to the table?
Do you want to come to the table so you're not so far away?
Yeah, sir.
We have
Come aboard,
space.
there's some chairs up there.
I mean, I don't,
Come on up, Bob.
I won't
Thank you.
be too rude.
She won't bite you.
That way at least you
Give
can.
me 2 copies.
Bob, I'll tell you what I told Rebecca last week, that it's good that you came alone, because this way you do get some table time. If you were back there with 5 or 6 people, it'd be very limited as to what I'd be able to afford you at a regular meeting like this. We certainly would afford you the microphone, that's for sure. So this will give you a little bit more. And tonight, and Michael's going to talk about this, last night we went over in depth a lot of comments. We got through almost all of the comments that Julie and my wife Jennifer recorded at the 2 meetings. What we didn't get through were the written comments and your rewrite of these sections. So Michael has tackled some of that for review by the Planning Commission.
For my part, I tried to be as transparent as possible, so I made the edits and then had comments off to the right to kind of explain my rationale on the edits.
Yeah.
So hopefully it was easy.
Oh, yeah.
easy enough.
Yeah, we read it. Yep. Good, it was. Thank you. Michael.
So, yeah, he had a lot of comments.
I did.
So what I did is I went through these and then I tried to sort of create them, group them, well, not group them, but make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in other words, because in other words,
Per subject.
some of these dealt with whole sections and some of them dealt with specific actions. So what I tried to do is say, okay, here's what I consider the comment, and here's what I think, what I would recommend or you could consider as a response. And there are many, I have no idea how you want to respond. I have some thoughts, but it really is a policy decision more than what's well beyond me. Okay, so number 1 was that there was a suggestion of deleting large sections of tables and figures and the like, and my response was that we feel that those are important to provide background information on the town.
Okay.
And mine wasn't much of a strong comment. I said maybe no issue
No,
having it.
I saw
but
that, yeah.
didn't seem
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
All
right.
Let's see. So then, as you follow along the number 1, number 2, I try to identify subsections where necessary. Suggest modifying. Well, you can read it, modifying section to state that the supply of adequate housing is a function of economic opportunity, the ability of an individual to afford housing improvements, and economic growth in the private sector. And what I responded, or my suggested response, was that. That the whole section was trying to focus on affordable housing as and planning to accommodate growth, and that you're not planning on spending money. I get the sense that you thought the town was going to spend money on public housing.
I
And that
think
wasn't-
several people did. by
wasn't the
way.
intention. It was really to foster,
Yeah.
but that there might be improvements within the village center, such as sidewalks and the like, to increase pedestrian access. So it's not totally that you would not provide public funding, or that there might not be a public funding, but you aren't going to go build houses.
Correct.
Right, I had no impression that they were going to build houses, but things like the sidewalk is either additional taxpayer dollars without the additional economic activity to support it. It's kind of spending, hoping it'll attract a tax base instead of spending because you have a larger tax base. So, and if
Isn't
if
But
it
not-
becomes a-
isn't that a fair thing to do in terms of trying to lift your community up?
Well,
if you've done a full cost assessment and a market analysis and those sorts of things, I mean, when a private individual or a private business invests in these things, they have to get loans, they have to give a return.
Can I back up one step further? If they're in the village, within the village designations, that's very little town money, is my understanding. that if it's done correctly, that it's tax incentives, that it is grant money, state money, and federal money, not Pownal money.
Isn't that the village town grant?
Yeah, the village
That- yeah,
designation.
Designation, right.
There's
That
always,
could provide for that.
however the money comes from. Okay. I mean,
Right.
It could come from the town, it could come from other grants, it could be matching funds.
It could be money well spent by the town in essence, but there's other money is my point. And a lot of people at the hearings thought that the planning commission just wanted to get that tax base up and increase the taxes, and it's not our goal.
Or spend money that we don't have.
Or spend money that we don't have.
But
Also
to
not our
Sid's
goal.
point, it's like, part of the incentive is to raise the profile so things are attractive, so which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
Now, you don't want to do it at the expense of the town shouldn't pay for it, but at the same time, you want to make things better, so you can attract businesses as well, because they may not want to come to a place that doesn't have the requisite goods and services. So,
Yep.
which might be as simple as a sidewalk, or may not, but.
Then Michael, you summed that up in there with the planning commission does not anticipate expending public funds to construct housing. Was not our intention. Sorry, Sid.
No, I was thinking things like adequate internet service.
Yeah, other
Some
forms
parts of this town don't have any internet.
other forms of infrastructure.
Well, you should, you
but-
should maybe check back and look at what you wrote in the plan and make sure it's saying what you want to say. I think it does, but just, you should make sure that these are all thoughtful comments.
Where would you
I agree.
Where would you add your comment? Where would you insert your comment? You said suggest modifying to state. Where would you say that?
Which one are we on?
Number 3.2.1. Mr. Jarvis's suggestion.
Is it number 2? Is that the number you're looking at? No, yeah.
Yes, it's his number 2, which is section 3.2.1.
Right.
I'd like to see your suggested language in context and see if we can agree with it.
Yeah. And you were looking at this comment right here.
Look at this right here.
And
Looking at
one for-
3.2.1 on this one.
Yes. On Michael's
Yeah.
Right.
fruit. No, it's your front page. This letter.
Yeah. I've got
Okay,
his,
so
I have his
now-
email. I'm just reading out the email that Bob sent and his comments in the right sign.
So it's, hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn. You can tell me to shut up.
No, I asked you a question.
I'm sorry, I thought you were asking him.
That's-
So,
He has language that's
this has-
suggested here.
yeah, so it sounds to me like the suggestion here that you wrote is very similar to the suggestion here.
Yeah, I'm sort of punting because number 4 was where you talk about business friendly, which is related to the comment you made, and I basically left that blank. Your call. I don't have a response.
I guess I should have Jarvis's email, which I don't have.
Don't worry
An
about
extra
it.
copy of it.
I think you do.
Yeah,
You can use that one for now.
I mean,
So it really starts at 3.2.1. Everything else was, everything before that was just deleted charts that I think we're putting back in. They seem factual, so I don't see an issue.
So we're okay there?
I think so.
All right.
Maybe putting in everything before 3.2.1. And I think as you go on, you're going to find things like enforced codes, additional codes, building codes, things like that do add to the cost of housing, which is the opposite of making it more affordable, and that's where some of my other comments came from. But for this one, it's just a matter of making sure we know where the funding is coming from, I guess. Not spending more money on housing, but even if it does come from other sources, it still has an impact on all Vermonters. Then, if it comes from the state, right? It's
Sure.
money that's going
Or
to-
from the feds?
or from the feds. That's correct.
Why do you want to delete the language that you delete in 3.2.1? Fundamental to the health and well-being. That's a pretty innocuous statement.
Well, as you go on to that, fundamental to the health and well-being of families contributes to a stable workforce, supports a vibrant economy, and then you get into the chicken and the egg. I think the market has to be there, the market research has to be there. You can't just assume that nice housing is going to...
This is a plan which promotes a vision, something that you want to look toward as our future.
Yeah.
And it's not
Correct.
a function, in my view, of economic planning and cost justification by market analysis or strict economic planning. I think we're trying to say what we hope for the town.
No, I get that, but in order to achieve what this vision is, does take money, whether it's state, whether it's
That
local.
may be, but
Right.
why is that a problem?
It's a problem because it adds to the tax burden without the necessary economic growth.
You don't know that because
We
it
don't
hasn't
know.
happened yet.
But that's true, but
You're
I don't
you're
think it's, I
suggesting
think
that
it's
there's
out
only
of
one way
place
to do
to
this.
speculate with taxpayer money, and that's really what's happening. If you're saying we're build it and they will come strategy, well,
not what I'm
pardon me,
saying.
field
Can I,
dreams.
can I make a suggestion?
You may.
So, 3.2.1 starts with an adequate supply of satisfactory housing, goes on to community involvement. And then Bob's adds language, which I would say, why don't you keep what you have and then add, and is a direct function of economic opportunity.
Fine.
That's as innocuous and inspecific as anything, which I think is fine. It's
Right.
as innocuous and as inconspicuous as the beginning of the commentary. So therefore, I think it's okay.
Yeah, I guess the thing I'm hearing him say is that why is there such housing, and that one of the reasons there is such housing is that people have the ability to afford it.
Right. I think Bob is building a case, and we're just aspiring in a hopeful setting that this could eventualize. The means to which we're not sure, and we're not dictating what those means might be. That's further down the road, but we aspire, we see a vision that this would be wonderful if this could happen. And we're not
Right.
suggesting it happen this way
Right.
or that way.
Right.
We don't know.
All right, Michael, you said and a direct what?
Right?
What do you want to do? I guess I'm.
So I'm saying, add,
Right in?
what you just said I think is fine, because it includes both possibilities, and neither one is contrary, I think.
Okay, so we're gonna. Let's see. Let me figure out where we are. So this is really back to comment number 2 on my list. So we're going to change this to keep the language, but add this phrase, a direct function of economic opportunity. Is that
Function.
Perfect.
Yeah.
okay to me? So let me change my response here so we have this.
Bob, did you have time to read the implementation table in the back?
What was your last word?
um,
Economic what?
that was the first thing I read, and I haven't read it since I first got a hold of it, and that was
Direct
before.
function of.
Well, it already has to be
economic
changed
direct
because of a
function
lot of
economic
changes that we made, but
Okay,
uh,
thank you.
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily directly address potential costs, but does address initiatives to induce the state and
Right, it's more of an
things like
action plan, item by item action plan in Excel to support the plan.
Correct.
And that was the first thing I read, and then I came and read this, and I haven't gone back
That's
and
a-
read that again.
that. By the way, that's not a bad idea to read that first.
Well, it wasn't on purpose. It was,
Okay.
it wasn't on purpose. But now, just so everybody understands my rationale, is right now, the way I view Pownal, and you can disagree, is that one thing we don't have is an affordable housing crisis. We have affordable housing. So anything we do with housing, you have to think about how is that going to risk what you already have, right? You want to improve it, but you don't want to risk the good things that you have, and that's kind of where I was focused on this. Is I don't want to take something like I know there was a lot of discussion about mobile home parks. I think we're past that. But if because the floodplain and we're going beyond 100 years flood now and those sorts of things, you end up losing that housing. That raises the cost of all other housing, and it eliminates some affordable housing that does serve a purpose for a large portion of
Potentially
our communities.
raises the cost of other housing.
Well, I'd say anytime you decrease supply,
Yeah.
The cost goes up.
The question
There-
is
there-
the
Which is where
demand.
you
There
gonna put
may
this
be a
people?
surplus as we
That's
sit
true.
here.
That's
So-
true, there may be a surplus.
But we're assuming there's a demand at the same time. So if we decrease the supply, is that an issue unless there's a demand? And that can raise the existing up.
Right. And I'm not saying it will or it won't, I don't know. I'm just saying that we need to be thinking about that, because right now we don't have an affordable housing crisis in Pownal. We don't want to create one. And any actions that you take that spends money or decreases supply or increases costs could create those problems.
Potentially.
want that
I mean,
recognized.
That's fine. We do,
I think
we
that-
hear you. It's on the record. It's a lot, perhaps a much more narrow focus than we need to deal with here, but my opinion.
I made that explicit comment somewhere later on. And
Okay.
it was
Agreeing
there
with
was
me.
Sort of a
Yeah.
well, there was sort of a reluctant.
Yeah.
There was in the original there was a reluctant acknowledgement that there was affordable housing.
Okay.
You know, it was while there is affordable housing, we still need
Okay.
to do these things. And I changed it to let's explicitly acknowledge that we don't have an affordable housing problem.
Correct.
And go and make sure that we're focused on not creating an affordable housing problem while trying to do other things.
Right.
Unintended consequences should always be on our forefront, I think.
Okay. Anything else need to be changed there, Michael, or,
I was gonna keep the rest of the response that I put on there because that was your focus, which was not to spend money on housing, but you might focus on certain public improvements within the village, because I think that's where those funds would come from aren't specified, but I think that's your idea. You've talked a lot about trails and bicycle paths and pedestrian walkways and
To attract economic incentives
Yeah.
and all of that.
make it
Bring
easier for people to
here.
get around on
Yes.
foot as opposed to having to drive everywhere.
it's fine by me.
Spending on housing improvements by the state and/or town will add to the tax burden without the necessary increase in economic activity and restrict the supply of affordable housing. Hence, the primary focus should be on making Pownal a business-friendly community. I don't get the connection that spending on housing improvements will restrict the supply of affordable housing. If a person has a better place to live and can afford it, they'll go there. And if they can't afford it, they won't go there.
And that's been the history with even the trailer parks for years, that people live there sometimes for 5 and 10 years and then move on when they can afford alternative housing.
That's true, but all of that's free market, right? No, that wasn't a town plan that created that. That was the person who decided to live here and save their money and then moved into better housing or got a better job or whatever.
I don't see it restricting the supply of affordable housing.
Increasing housing cost always restricts supply. That's just an economic fact. Now, people want to do it. I mean, we're doing improvements on my house, but it's because, I saved, I can afford some of it. So, of course, I want the new kitchen
Yeah.
because I get yelled at less when we have a new kitchen. But,
Yeah, it
I'm
seems
just kidding. Doesn't yell at me.
But it's not dictatorial in the sense that we demand that it goes this way or go that way. It's a free, as you say, it's a free will situation. And I don't think one hinders the other. And it doesn't matter because we're not declaring that it must be this way anyway. Again, it's an aspiration, it's a wish list. Like you're fixing up your house like somebody else might do that. It's just saying things could get better. And mainly it's the affordable housing piece is about making the housing that we have perchance better and safer would be a good thing. Because some of the housing may not be as safe as they could be. And then we get into the inspections and all of that.
Right, and again, that raises costs. So you want it to meet the minimum standard. You have to meet the minimum standard. That's the law. That's the code.
Right.
But then if you raise that code, you then raise costs.
Right, and then there's a price for the cost is the safety. So do we diminish the safety? Do we put that against
That's right.
the cost and say, well, it's too expensive to be safe? Or do we want to be safe
No,
at
that's-
any cost?
No, that's the trade-off. And it's what
Right.
do you say? Safe is not a binary term.
Right.
Safe is a continuum, and at what point is the safety and the cost
Right.
trade-off valuable?
Right, right. And right now, since there aren't inspections, we're at a very low value in terms of what the safety is. In fact, there's no cost to it, so it has no value, apparently, because there is no inspection. So at some point, we have to say, we want to make things better, so we have to bring the bar up. And that's, again, just a wish. It's not dictatorial.
I think it should be a goal.
Well, and you may think it should be a goal, and some of us feel that way, but for this, it's just a wish.
Now, I'm not speaking from personal experience or anything, but one way to accomplish that would be to not reassess somebody's property when it goes up in value because they improved their house.
Well,
I'm not looking for myself.
There is a tax increment. We talked about tax increment financing at one point for
Right.
if somebody made improvements to their affordable housing, making it better, we hope to have a program where we wouldn't increase their real estate taxes.
Right, should they be penalized?
For a period of time.
Well, that would be a really positive thing. It wouldn't cost anything. You would give more people the ability to improve their own houses
Correct.
and remove the disincentive for doing so.
That's
Well,
correct.
I think that's something to aspire to, too.
Well, Bennington-
But right now, there isn't a statute in Vermont
Bennington
permitting
does that?
You can
Right.
do
They're
it for
moving in that
commercial
direction.
properties, but not for residences.
You have to.
I mean, if the legislature funds something like Brock comes in and does something to low-income
Right.
housing, it fixes it up without our personal money in Pownal. It comes out of the state money, which we give to, but
Yeah.
a lot of Brock work is done in Pownal.
Yes, it
And
is.
it's
That's
funded
right.
through the state legislature. So we're out of the picture, actually.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Mr. Jarvis would say they were always in the picture because we're always taxpayers.
Yeah, I think
But
we're
that's
always
a
in
true
the picture. We
statement.
send
I
our
mean,
checks.
if you have a pool of money in Montpelier and every town is competing to get more than their fair share,
Mm-hmm.
then you've got an untenable and unsustainable situation where you're being driven by Montpelier. That's just a true statement. I mean, that's just how it works.
It is a true statement.
Okay. What do we move on to now?
I don't know where I am.
I still have nothing for number 4.
Right, I have nothing for number 4.
He punted.
Doesn't have to say business friendly, but I
Yeah.
think
I do have a suggestion, which comes from my linear background.
Okay.
Well, we're dealing with housing here. And I think this is an economic development issue.
Not-
Maybe isn't
not
quite ready.
appropriate
We
for
should
this.
Leave that for the later section.
Let's leave it for a later section.
I think there's enough of my comments in the later section that
Yeah.
actually
Should
cover it
cover
anyway.
that.
Yeah, that's true. Assuming you accept my comments.
I think number 5 we've addressed, haven't we?
And I think we just discussed
Yeah.
that the older homes present challenges as there was, and it's not just about mobile homes.
Right. We're dramatically revising those sections.
Right, and the same can be said for number 6 as we talk about business friendly.
So a wait.
So what?
So we're gonna wait number 6.
Well, it'll be
Till
discussed
later.
in later sections.
That's all I wanna know.
Oh, it's,
I need good minutes. We don't have to do this again.
Why do you strike it's important that future development occurs on sites capable of having on-site?
oh, I was just gonna address that. I only struck it because I had a question that I had asked at the 19th and 20th, I forget which one, of why that was there and what it actually meant. I did look up the 2006 town plan, and it came directly from there. So when I said at the meeting that, you know, all houses have that. I mean, you know, whether it's a well or whether it's a well and a septic tank or whether it's town, it's always there. But that is what it meant. It meant that the wells and septic tanks have to be far enough away not to have a negative impact on other water supply. It makes perfect sense. So I'm certainly happy removing that strike.
It's also now mandated by the state, isn't it?
You have to, it's regulated by the state.
Regulated by the state.
3.2.3, you want to strike all of that because there isn't a safety?
Said not to be difficult, but try to, I'm following these comments and responses, so if you could give me both at the same time, and
Right.
Julie and I can both keep track of this.
So,
I know you gotta look back and forth.
Bob's comment number 5, right? That statements following 3.2.3, the mobile homes meet the need for, is that what you're talking about, Sid?
No, he checked
We've
it
already
out.
moved on beyond that.
3.2.3, I think is what he's talking about. Striking the housing safety, aging
Yeah.
buildings, and the challenge of mobile homes.
Yes.
Where I said I don't see any reference to empirical data showing that Pownal has a housing safety issue. It just seems to be focused on, and I'm not against safety, of course not, but I mean, there seems to be a lot of new language in this town plan that's addressing problems
There-
that we don't necessarily have.
There,
I think there
There-
are
there
problems
are-
that the
there
commission
are
has
some-
concerns about, and then later on they have the action of doing a housing assessment. So I think that's part of the rationale for that was
correct.
to say that there may be issues because of the older housing stock, and that therefore we need to do some kind of a housing assessment.
There are warnings and concerns, and if they apply, they apply, and if they don't, they don't. But it's there in case they do, and I think it's important that they stay there in case they do apply.
And
So we
in
can't cherry
talking,
pick whether they do
and
or
in
they
talking to
don't.
the health inspector, they do, not on a large basis, but there are some tough situations here in Pownal, and some that are potentially quite hazardous and dangerous.
All that
Depending on
said-
their condition, these older houses may contain hazards such as, and that's pretty, arbitrary language that allows for the eventuality that might happen,
But there
that
is
might
lead
exist.
paint, there is lead paint in almost any house built before 1974.
We know that, yes,
So my 1700s house, probably.
right.
Yeah,
You might have some
So-
up
you
there.
shouldn't have your kids licking your door.
No,
your
don't
doorsills.
let them.
So this
Keep
is not
away
just
from the
conjecture,
windowsills.
I think it's just a
What's
matter of
mandated?
fact that these things exist. How, to what degree they exist here, it's like on a watch list. They may or may not with certain homes. We don't know, but we have to provide in case they do. I think that's fair language for those type of things.
I think we volunteered to make some changes in the mobile home
Right.
section.
We
Comes
did.
next.
That's
Right, we absolutely did. We've had
what I said in number 5.
quite a bit there, quite a bit down there.
And that was one of the reasons I had struck it out, was because of the title itself and the challenge of mobile homes. I didn't see mobile homes as a challenge. And in fact, in some ways, it's a strength. It gives people more options.
What do you want to do with number 8?
That's what I wondered.
Get me the number 8.
Number 8 is page 2 of
3.2.5,
Back page.
just adding that substandardized housing, group homes, assisted living facilities, etc. are a growing need for the elderly as opposed to just a need. Is that what we did? You're saying we eliminated the word elderly?
No, he added the word elderly.
Bob
Wait
added
a
the word
minute.
elderly.
Sorry, I'm behind.
That's
Where-
right.
Where are
We-
we?
I think we have 7 people that are looking at 7 different
3.2.5.
things.
I think that's true.
I am looking at the comments that Mr. Jarvis made
Number
on Michael's handout,
Oh,
where with his recommended response to the right of it.
okay.
I think he tried to capture the essence of each of Bob's observations and came up with a potential suggested response.
And
And number 8, once again, suggests adding that substandardized housing, group homes, assisted living are
subsidized.
or a growing need for the elderly as opposed to just a need.
Well, I think it can apply to more than the
Is that what
elderly.
I said? No, that's not.
Well, you added the
I don't
word
think
before the elderly.
Elderly is underlined.
Right.
Yeah, just added the word elderly. I don't think there was.
Who would argue with that?
No, I didn't come up with that on my own. It was somewhere in here. I moved it up there.
You had help,
I
you mean?
no, there was no help in the rewriting of the section. But I mean, there was somewhere in here that was addressing elderly, and it was maybe it was just before that.
Well, here's your
Then I put it in there.
here's
So
your
something-
email. Table 8 summarizes that, well, that's focusing on those with disabilities, and those over age 65. As the population ages, there will be greater needs to serve these
So the
populations.
entire paragraph before it was all about, right, the most individuals with special care needs prefer to live in a community setting. I put a little comment there, and actually I was copying somebody else's comment, made that comment at the September 19th meeting, and said that that was subjective. Okay, while some people may live with parents or other family members, there is a need in Pownal for alternative housing options for adults with special needs. Social services, actually, I'm not sure why I put in, I thought it was referring to elderly there, but it looks like it's not.
Right.
Special needs.
Maybe I
needs.
should just say, yeah, for
Yeah.
special needs.
Yeah,
It's not the
let's
elderly.
change that.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I would hate to just
So
keep it
cross
as
out
older
elderly,
people.
put Special needs.
No,
Sure.
it is about, this paragraph is about special needs.
So do you want to just keep it the way it is?
I would say,
I
The
think
o-
it's
the only-
inclusive.
Okay. The only thing I was doing on that middle one, when I said for the elderly, I probably should have said for special needs.
I think special
Right.
needs fits better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that-
and
that's
it makes that paragraph specific
And I
to
think-
the previous
And I think
paragraph in that section.
could is better than would, so I would
So
say
what do you
special
wanna do?
needs and could help.
I think you're
So
right.
you'd have similar facilities or a growing need for,
hate to bother you, but I have to step up.
said,
Okay,
A growing need for special needs.
seems like a lot of needs.
I'll come up with something.
Oh, a growing need
As soon
for,
as I let Mr.
So let the chairman out continue on. Quorum is strong.
Or you could say a growing
You're in charge. for a
is
minute.
subsidized housing, group homes, assisted living, other things
that's a lot of needs. You're right.
are a growing,
Similar facilities, other similar facilities.
Can't you right click and go to thesaurus?
Are in need and could help many of Pownell's residents.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would say are
that's
needed
are needed.
are
Fine,
needs,
are
so just
needed,
take out-
fine.
for special needs persons and could help many of Pownell's residents. I wouldn't even say many, could help,
Too, okay,
could help
too clunky.
certain Pownell residents.
Yeah, that's that better too.
All right, slow down, say we gotta get this down.
Subsidized
So,
housing,
now
comma,
wait,
group
I'm,
home.
I'm not even ready to type it. So
Okay,
dot, 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 are from, are, for facilities are, is that where we're starting?
yes,
Okay,
are needed
needed.
for special needs persons and could help
Could help
certain
certain,
of Pownell's residents.
certain of or certain pound.
Certain of, or a number of, or
Certain Pownal residents.
certain
Yeah,
Pownell
yeah, I'm not
residents.
sure the, yeah,
Only the ones that are sure of themselves.
okay,
Okay, so we corrected.
all right. Great.
What's yellow mean?
Yellow,
Where's the?
or you have colors in your original.
Oh, I had some of them that I needed to go back to. They don't have any meaning in that document.
Okay.
They had meaning for me when I was going through the
Okay.
edits.
Okay.
Okay. Wanna keep going, or you wanna wait
And
till?
it's supposed to
let's
under-
No, let's keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
All right, so number 9.
Okay, so my response to number 9 was, that the wording as it was more of a positive direction where you were sort of directing it towards avoiding a negative. It just seemed not a way I would put things. But I'm just the recommender here.
So did you put the one strength Pownal? Where, did you?
One
do-
strength
One
Pownell has
Has-
is a wide,
That's
Variety.
that's is a suggested language.
Okay.
And I was basically saying I would leave it the way the language is,
Okay.
but you guys decide.
And then my rationale was that I saw
You're worried about
Variety of
government
housing.
having a negative impact.
no, not necessarily. I'm worried about any actions having an impact, right? So I was explicitly recognizing that Pownal does have a wide variety of housing options. Here it says Pownal Housing Goal 1, ensure the availability of safe, affordable, livable, long-term housing for all Pownal residents, satisfies the diverse needs of the community, manages growth, minimizes energy. Is the
Bob,
planning
catch-
commission or
catch me up
anybody in the
here,
select board actually going to ensure that this happens? I mean, that's really, it's a function of other things, not of
But again, I think we're micro-focusing.
That's the nature of a
on,
plan.
on the words, and again, it's a hope, and can we ensure it? I mean, maybe the insurer can change, but the objective, the goal, the wish is all those things, which are, the way I look at it, are positive things.
Well, I do too. I think it's more than just a positive statement on the future direction. It's also a statement on how do you get there. If it says, if a town plan, a government document says that our goal is to ensure the availability of safe, affordable, livable, long-term housing for all Pownal residents, etc., then that becomes a function of government, rather than a function of making sure that individuals can afford a safe, affordable, livable, long-term
But that may
housing.
be a function of government, and that may be where you and I disagree.
Correct.
Right.
That's well, we disagree a lot
Right.
because if you're thinking that government is going to create housing for people, which is they're not. They're going to make it possible so that
Yeah.
individuals can afford their own houses. That's the best that we can do.
I think where I was coming from is that the goal as it's stated was, as you said, is a proactive goal that says we should take certain actions to make sure that there's appropriate affordable housing, as opposed to we should avoid negative things happening. That doesn't seem like a goal to me for the town. I agree, the town should not create negative things, but by doing the positive, you're avoiding the negative. I guess it's a stylistic.
And I don't see the negative potential in that comment.
You don't see the negative potential in
No, I meant
in
his additional line.
Pownal housing.
For all term housing for all Pownal residents to satisfy the diverse needs of the community, et cetera, et cetera.
I was reacting to what I was saying is I didn't agree with the change he was making, which was to ensure that any actions do not have a negative impact. I didn't see that that was necessary.
Right. I agree.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
It's already done.
Because you've already sort of done, yeah.
You already what?
By taking the positive stance, you've avoided the negative.
Well, no, that's not. I think you're missing the point on the negative. The negative is to avoid unintended consequences. You'll never see the unintended consequences in the goal. You will only realize the unintended consequences as you try to achieve the goal. If what you're trying to do is say that the government now has the power, and I say the government, Pownal, this is Pownal's town plan, and your goal is to ensure the availability of safe, affordable, maybe it's the ensure word, maybe it's to encourage, or I don't like encourage either, but you want to make that as possible, as likely as possible, without saying something that says you're going to build housing for people of Pownal.
How about
Because
the
that's-
residents' ability to afford safe, affordable housing? Pownal housing goal is for its population, its residents,
I like that.
and then just carry that on. So
I think I'm
it's
sorry.
not getting to how it's going to be achieved, but it's actually, in so many words, getting through the people to achieve it.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
It's getting through the residents to achieve the availability of safe. So
No, I
our
mean,
goal
you're-
is to enable the people to achieve these things.
I'm very comfortable with that.
And I think we all want the same thing. How that's done, whether the government puts a couple of bucks in your pocket so you could do it, or you created a business or whatever and you could do it yourself, we're not evaluating that here. We're saying we hope that the people can do that. We want to provide that environment.
Let me suggest some words.
What's the language you want from here?
In the second sentence, Pownal will ensure that, I had it and I forgot. You guys go ahead, I'm gonna
I know that.
write
now.
something out.
We have them rewind the.
Yeah,
That's
have them
it.
go back to the videotape.
Not at my age, we don't have rewind. Everything's original.
It's always the first time.
Happens to everybody, Sid.
All right, so number 10. Suggest
What did I just say?
Oh, you want to skip over while Sid's working on it?
Yeah,
Fine.
skip
Yeah.
me. Go ahead.
Because
Okay.
we've been here an hour and we're only on page 2.
I know.
I'm sorry.
My fault.
No, I just, I tend to get tired.
Okay, so that whole discussion while I was gone was on number 10?
No, we're
Nine.
moving.
Now we
nine.
were in 9.
Now we're moving to 10.
If you were gone longer, it might have gone to 10.
That can be arranged.
I'm sure it can. I'm sure it can.
So this is a planning thing. The objective as it's written is intended to be somewhat measurable as opposed to prescriptive. So the language I think you're talking about makes it a little bit less measurable. It still achieves the same thing. So that I'm going to leave up to the commission.
In my view, you can still measure both of those things.
Well, one is increased residents' participation, which you could probably measure as opposed to make residents' awareness, which is a little harder to measure, I think. Just
Well, no,
because
if you make them aware. Measuring it, I don't think has any impact on the words, right?
No, I'm saying the
measuring it, you can-
objective, I think the way it's worded is more easily measured, and an objective should be a measurable thing. We can split hairs on this all night.
Well, no, I wasn't splitting hairs. It's
No,
a
no, I'm
fact
just
that
saying
the
that
measuring,
the why I'm-
measuring of those two objectives is the same, no matter what the wording is. That's just a fact.
No, I disagree.
I don't know how you would measure it, how it increases the measurement to have the objective as increase, what was the original language?
Increase residents' participation in housing rehabilitation programs as well as the activities of public, private, nonprofit entities that support housing upgrades. And number 2, the percentage of housing units that are compliant with minimum health and safety standards. Actions. Target low and moderate income families, the elderly, and the handicapped with information on programs and resources supporting housing upgrades. Number 2,
That's a new point. Why don't we deal with the
Yeah,
first?
yeah, let's go
You're
back.
jumping ahead.
well, that's the action plan. Yeah, right.
I know,
We're
but
just
we
sticking
haven't-
with the objective
We haven't
now.
gotten to 10 yet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't defend.
3.3.1 is what you're
Right. That's
discussing.
correct, Yes.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm harping on that a little bit too much.
What-
I'm fine with.
Okay, good. Let's move
Let's
on.
move on.
Right.
Particularly with
Sid
the
got
change in
9,
the
Sid got
action.
9.
Let's go back to where we
You got
left
some
off.
wording on
I have a
8
suggestion.
or 7,
This is at 9.
9. Okay.
We keep one strength Pownal has is a wide variety of housing options satisfying a wide range of
Whoa,
economic
whoa,
needs.
whoa, whoa.
It's already, this is
It's
in
already
Jarvis's.
there.
I know, but I gotta
You gotta
You
put
gotta
it in.
read.
I gotta write this down.
Okay.
So slow down. What are you saying?
At the end,
Keep this.
Pownal housing goal 1
Yeah.
is one strength.
So take out all the stuff that's there now.
Take out ensure the availability of safe and affordable housing.
I think more easily, Sid, we can just modify it to the people, putting the power to the people to, that they have the availability for safe and affordable, livable, all that, as long as it's going to the people to be able to do that. How that is accomplished, we're not saying. And it's a simpler fix. And I think it achieves the same thing. In fact, it's more specific in some
So
ways.
you would say something like ensure the
residents' ability.
opportunities of residents to have safe,
Yeah,
affordable.
yeah. Right.
And this is Pownal housing goal number 1 we're
Correct,
talking
yeah.
about.
Rather than ensure the availability, you're saying assure
Of safe,
the opportunity
affordable,
of
livable,
residents
Of the
long-term
residents,
housing.
to
right,
have the
right,
availability.
right.
It says for all Pownal residents.
Well, yeah.
It does say that.
It does say
Well,
that.
but if you put
That
if you
satisfies
put
the
yours
diverse
in
needs
for
of the community, manages growth, minimizes energy consumption and environmental impacts, and is compatible with the character of the
I
community.
think it says the same thing. I think
What do
you're
we
right.
need to change there?
Yeah, exactly. I think it says the same thing because it is putting the power to the residents.
It says it for all Pownal residents.
It doesn't say how
good.
that's going to be accomplished. It doesn't say the government's
How
going to
about-
make that happen.
How about if we say ensure that Pownal residents have the ability, have the availability of safe, just.
You can emphasize that and take
You
it out
can,
of the
you can,
middle of the
you're just
sentence.
moving it up to the
You're just
beginning and
moving
taking it out
And
of
if you
the.
like that better, that's fine. Either way. Okay, so leave it the way it is, because I honestly, I mean, does anybody have an
No.
objection to the fact that it doesn't accomplish the same thing?
I'm lost on the. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
I'm lost on the.
I'm more or less
on the,
lost too.
I-
proposed edit.
I think what you were speculating
proposing
on,
to leave it alone.
was that the government may be the one responsible for the availability of safe and affordable, livable housing for all
Right.
Pownal residents. And we're saying we want to make it available to all Pownal residents. We're not saying how that gets to that.
However, we can support them.
However, we can support them. We're not
Correct.
assuming that it's coming from the government. We're not assuming it's coming from, we don't know how it's coming, but we want to provide the environment for that to exist. It's a very positive, proactive statement that is open-ended in terms of how that happens, but we wanted to create that environment.
Agreed.
The open-ended nature of it gives the Pownal government more power to enact to take action on that. It would seem to me.
By ensuring the availability of safe housing,
Yeah, I mean, how would
it
you
somehow
go-
empowers them to step in those cases? Is that what you're
Well, how
getting
would
at?
it not? If the goal is that the town of Pownal will ensure the availability of safe, affordable, livable.
Why isn't
maybe
that
I
a
am
fair
wrong.
objective of government?
Right.
Because it leads to things like subsidized housing and
It
spending
doesn't
on housing.
necessarily. It doesn't. It doesn't
say that
advocate.
in
some-
there.
That's right.
You're right. It doesn't say that. But it does open the door. It doesn't say what it does. It doesn't say what it doesn't do.
I'm sorry,
And-
that's an inevitability that I'm.
Again, this
or
is an
not
aspiration, it's a
inevitability.
wish list. We want to provide the environment that all the residents will have all these attributes handy and available to them. And we all want the same thing.
So, all due
I
respect,
think we do.
Yeah, I think we do.
all due
so-
respect, I think that Pownal Housing Goal number 1 should remain intact. You had something,
No, I was going to try to fix Mr. Jarvis's language, and I came up with something that made me happy for a moment. But you guys have just
Destroy.
run me over with a truck, and that's fine.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. It really, I think we're all saying the same thing.
Okay.
close. Okay.
But what about the proposed change? Is that staying out? If you kept that, and
I don't mind if you add the next sentence. One strength Pownal has is a wide variety.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
It's innocuous. It's fine.
Yep, that's fine.
Not to argue a point, but your goal should be crystal clear. And I think it's clear the way it is. I think it becomes cloudier
Right.
as you
If we
get
add that
down.
sentence.
That's my opinion,
Okay.
but it's your plan.
I move Mr. Badger's comments.
could we
to
change the
accept.
word ensure to maintain? Maintain the availability of safe, affordable,
I'm fine with
long-term
that.
housing? And that way you're saying you don't want to deteriorate, but you don't necessarily, if you don't have a housing problem now, and you do have.
But if we can improve,
Right, maintain
Without
means it as the
cost,
status quo.
why wouldn't we take advantage of something like that? I know you think that any change will increase cost. I happen to disagree with that, but or it's relative to the quality of the changes. So I don't maintaining to me is in this case
Flatline.
potentially
You're right,
going
it's
backwards.
flat.
I agree
I
with
don't
you.
like flat.
It could be,
Yeah, I agree
or
with you.
even going backward.
Maintaining is the same old, and we're aspiring to something greater.
Okay, well, and that's where a lot of my angst is coming from. It's not the aspiration for something greater. It is the negative consequences when you try to achieve the unintended consequences of trying to
right.
achieve something
No, we
that's
need-
beyond.
We need an egg timer.
Nighttime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all due
Need
respect,
like
we
3
do
minutes,
have to,
3 minutes per
we do have to
paragraph.
move on
Beat
and,
these to death.
and,
Yeah.
and
I actually can do that.
you have a time, I have a timer on my,
I would
we all-
suggest
we
you
all
might want
do.
to consider saying, okay, we're going to do these for each one of these for 2 minutes because we will be here a long time.
Right, exactly.
We can't run the whole meeting on
I
this.
agree. You want to get
So-
your timer ready? Let's move on. Number 11, is that what we're on? Actions?
No, we were
10.
Oh, back on 10. I thought we had
No, we
through
were
No,
still
that
at
was
9.
if you stayed out longer, we would have.
Yeah, see, you could have stayed out longer. You
Okay,
would still
back.
be at the same
You guys
place.
think I was out checking the score of the game. That's
Ah.
not
Hey,
true.
what's the score?
Not true.
It's 4-2.
4-3.
4-3.
Is it, you're checking too?
Well, that's even better.
Hello, you hadn't noticed?
I haven't been watching these guys. Come on, where are your priorities here?
Come
We're
on.
dealing with the town plan of Pownal, Vermont.
Oh.
Just so happens the Yankees are playing.
All right. Well,
4-3 Houston.
No, 4-3 Houston.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for the update. Number 10.
Cigarette.
And Betances will not be on the planning commission.
Number 10 is 331, safety goals, objectives, and actions. We'd already started to discuss this. No, I guess not.
I think number 11 is quick. You already put in there, the planning commission accepts the revised language for action item number 1. So that was number 11. I think I'm not
Yeah.
sure if we skipped 10.
well, I was the
but
one
I
who was
think you
saying
were
that I thought
saying-
it was more measurable the way it was. But.
Right,
Correct.
and I was saying there's no impact to how you measure it. It's just an impact to who drives it. Is it the individual make it available to the individuals to go do it, or is it there's actually a program being run by Pownal that is increasing participation in these two programs?
Yeah, and I guess I would.
The
I would say
availability
that-
of
that-
participation.
That Pownal should have programs to help their residents, and otherwise, I've read a lot of town plans which are long-winded, vague and fuzzy, and I kind of wonder what the point is. So the point of this plan, in many cases, was to make things more specific. So that's someone, whether it's the town select board, whether it's a volunteer organization or whatever, somebody should be implementing these things. That's my 2 cents on planning.
Well, and
That
that's
if you don't
Oh,
actually
sorry.
say what you're going to do, no one holds your feet to the fire. That at the end of 5 years, you should go back and look at this stuff and go, did we do it or not? And if you say, well, we all want to make things wonderful, that's pretty easy. But if you say, well, did we actually, and however you word it, did you do it or not? Or do we still need to do those things? Or maybe, now we've learned something and we've decided, well, this wasn't such a big issue and we could take that out. We've moved to other issues. That's my
The
Okay.
implementation
that's why I don't
table.
go to the VLCT meetings, because that's my point.
It doesn't say make residents participate.
It does not.
It does not
I
say
was
that.
just going to say that.
It says make residents aware of the availability, it could say, of participation in housing. It doesn't say make them do anything.
And in our implementation table, we talk repeatedly about identify and support unique housing development opportunities, such as the adaptive reuse of historical buildings, blah, blah, blah. And there's a host of things. And then the responsible parties are officials like zoning administrator, health officer, building inspector. We're not committing town dollars to that.
We're still on
And
10.
That
I
was
think we
part-
did.
yeah.
Are we done with 10?
I think we are.
Yeah,
and
we're done with
11 is, we've already fixed 11.
11 we're finished with. We're on 12.
12, I disagree with Bob's suggestion. We don't have a local building code. There is a state code that applies to commercial buildings, but not to residences. And it is my view, and I think the majority of the planning commission, that there should be adopted a local building code and a code enforcement procedure to ensure a supply of adequate housing.
Agreed. It was a very big part of our discussions in formulating the town plan. We not only recommend it, the language is in the plan, but it's also the building inspector and codes are referenced throughout the implementation table as well.
we don't have local building codes,
No.
so we don't have state codes.
Not for residences.
State codes
State
concern
codes-
commercial
Commercial
buildings.
buildings. For example, the building that's being built
No, I
down
understand.
opposite
Uh,
Stewart's
Right,
ran afoul of a state commercial building code.
right, but on resident building
That's right.
codes, I know that I have to go get, my spindles can't be more than this far apart on a new deck, and,
I built a house without anybody ever darkening its door and taking a look at anything.
That's correct.
I did too.
Right.
Now,
so there really is no.
That's
No,
actually
there
the
is-
bad
yeah,
news.
I know.
Is that
A lot of
nobody
people don't
inspects
know
your
that.
property.
a lot of
Maybe
people
because
don't
your
realize
house
that.
is so
But
old, it's historic. And you have
No.
to- I don't-
No, you probably
But no-
also,
No, there is a.
there are a lot
there
of
is spindles. They have to
contractors-
be so close so kids can't get their heads.
but a lot of contractors will adhere to
That's right.
Williamstown or Bennington because they're licensed there to do business as well, and they'll
Yes.
carry that forward. It is, however, not necessary currently in Pownal. We want it to be.
We want it to be necessary.
I'm
We
fine
really
with that.
do.
I was under the impression that we had codes
So-
and we were talking about adding more
The lesson
codes.
here is if you want these spindles wider, now's the time to do
Now,
it. Don't,
if you want your kids to get their
Don't-
heads between the spindles,
don't wait.
do it now.
don't-
Laugh, I had a kid do that.
And the
at
Yankees just
Legion
did, they
one day.
tied it up.
One of the little
Sorry.
girls got her head stuck in the rail.
The Yanks tied it up.
Okay. Come on, don't, you're spoiling it. It's like telling me the end of a movie.
Oh, that's right, you
Huh?
wanna
I'm-
watch this.
No, that's okay.
End
I'm
of a
gonna-
movie.
I'm gonna-
How many innings is left?
I don't know.
But Bob, just so you know, historic, I mean, that has been our mantra here, is that it's unfortunate that a lot of what we want to implement can't be enforced, and it's like, we want to do the best we can by having something that has some traction. Perhaps something could be enforced. If I move next door to you, and I think I know how to wire my place, and I have no idea, and I go ahead and wire it, that'll be okay. And if my place burns down, you're in jeopardy of my place burning down. But I didn't need to be inspected, and I
We-
wired it
we
because I
also-
thought I knew how to.
We
That's
also,
what's-
Let's
that-
move on to the
what's
next
bad.
section.
yeah,
Agreed.
So number 12, we're gonna delete, is that what we said?
We're gonna
Leave it.
leave, we're gonna
We're
leave
gonna leave it as.
Okay.
3, consider the adoption of blah. Doesn't even mandate it. I think we don't mandate it. 13, sections 3, 4, and 5 seek to solve problems that don't exist, or seek to proactively find problems to expend resources.
Seems to me that that's a true statement. Right? Identify and support unique housing develop an inventory of substandard
3.3,
rental housing, perhaps through a local housing survey funded through a state, municipal, or community development planning grant. So action item 4 particularly is proactively looking for a problem. Am I wrong?
I'm trying to look at.
okay, you're looking at the goal here? Are you looking at the goal in the
No,
No, I'm
actual
looking at
plan?
action item number 4, which I think is, I think in here, that's number, was it 13? No, it's number 12.
I think this goes back a ways because this is something when you were working with Landworks, you came up with a housing survey, and what I think where you're getting at is you have a sense that there's some problems in housing, you just don't really know. So
Correct.
you're using your what you think you know to come up with goals and actions, but you wanted to do a survey.
That did come out of Landworks.
Correct.
Yeah, it would seem like a
We did the
reasonable
survey.
idea.
And you can define that as looking for a problem, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
And potentially solving one as the result. As a result.
But there's no end to that. I mean, right? There's no end to the number of problems you can look for and find and presumably solve, but there's a cost to solving every one of the problems as well. So
That's
a-
what citizenship and the republic is all about.
And concern for the safety
disagree.
of our
I know you
citizens.
do.
And concern for the safety of our citizens is the overriding.
Well, that's true.
goal
You can
here.
make everybody perfectly safe by eliminating liberty, but that would not be the right way to go. If it hasn't been an issue in the past, and we haven't,
But we're
had any
sensing that it has been, and it's been reported that it has
Anecdotally,
been.
we
So,
think it is a problem.
correct. So we think it just needs to be watched. I think that's
I guess,
pretty basic.
Well, from somebody who's coming into this ignorant, and I'm sorry, the egg timer is about
Well,
to go off.
It is.
I mean,
So, but-
It would be
not to prolong this discussion, but in a sense, you're saying, well, there's no data. Now they want to go look for data, and you're saying they shouldn't go look for the data.
This is like
Yeah,
the
that's
NRA
right.
doesn't want gun deaths studied because there might be developed a body of data which would show how you could avoid gun deaths.
No, that's not at all what this is. This is, there is no end to the number of problems you can look for and then use government resources to solve. There is no end. There
Right.
is no end to that.
But they didn't come up
And
with an
that-
endless.
That's a true statement.
They didn't come up with an endless. They came up with this
It's a true
specific
statement.
survey.
Right, right. But if we're saying develop an inventory of, how about the, and the next one also, I mean, both of those are proactively seeking out to identify problems. If we, but as Mike, as you just said,
Yeah.
we do know that there's problems. Maybe that data should be in here. If we do know that there are problems,
We don't know
here's
until
the
we do a
problem
study.
that we're going to solve.
We won't know unless
Unless
until
we
do a
do
survey
a
or a
survey.
study or some fact finding. And
I
we're
mean-
recommending that we do that.
if things are reported to us,
Recommending
I
they leave
don't.
people alone and let them live their lives. That's the position I'm coming from with this. And it's if it's not an issue, if it's not a problem, then we ought not to be looking for new ways to expend government resources.
But
That's-
many problems over the years have been brought to our attention, and we hear about it.
We hear about it a lot.
A lot. I mean, we're not making this
People
up. We're
come
not
here.
looking to spend money that we don't have, or for the government to give us money, on a whim. We're not looking for. We just want to safeguard. We want to be sure that people are taken care of because a lot of people have been ignored, and you can say, well, that's their burden. But at the same time, it's an unfortunate situation, and there's been a lot of things that have happened that have been unfortunate with the housing. It's some of them are horror. So, I don't think
and that's true. If
I
that's-
don't think we
if
should
that's
look
true,
for
then maybe
problems.
that's
I agree
true.
with you. I don't think we should look for problems. We
Well,
know there
fine,
are
I'd
some.
be happy to give you some facts.
We
And that would be
We have to keep
that would be
moving.
helpful.
Yeah,
I mean, it
let's,
would make me
uh,
feel better about
I'm sorry.
the section. But
Two more rounds.
the egg timer is up. Let's move on. What's the next one?
Oh, this was the, let's see.
Give me some numbers. 13, 14. Where are
I
we?
think we're on
15.
13, right?
We,
I'm sorry, we are on 13.
we were on 13 and
It's
I thought Mike
3.3.2.
just said we were gonna leave it as it is.
Does have a range of housing.
Right.
That's what we were discussing.
Right, that's what we were
3.3.
discussing.
I think the next one has to do with the large employer discussion that we had as well.
Right, okay. And you made this point, Bob, the first night you spoke, I think, or the second night. Pownal recognized the benefits of large employers could bring to the residents and our tax base. Hence, Pownal will be welcoming to new businesses that respect our lifestyle choices and fit our town character. The need for economic opportunities high in Pownal. Now, this is your rewrite, right? As
that's
such, employment opportunities will be weighed against the possible costs in terms of environment and town character. And, okay, so just quickly, where are you going with this? I think at one point you said, don't discourage any large businesses. Don't have words to the effect of protecting the character and things like that. And I might be wrong.
No, I
but-
actually did. I actually put that in here. Protect the fit the town character. The wording that I replaced it with is Pownal recognizes the benefits large employers could bring to the residents in our tax base. Hence, Pownal will be welcoming to new businesses that respect our lifestyle choices and fit our town character. The need for economic opportunity is high in Pownal. As such, employment opportunities will be weighed against the possible costs in terms of environment and town character.
Or
So-
you could say, economic opportunity in Pownal is low.
Well, yes, that's true. Well, that's true. Well, yes, but I think those are saying the same thing, and I
agree.
would go with either one of those. But that's not what this said. This the original right had like what I thought were overly restrictive and added cost to bringing in larger employers. So the point that I was making at the meeting was what you will accept from in terms of cost of town character or whatever is going to be different for somebody who's going to bring 500 jobs than somebody who's going to bring 15 jobs. So there really is a cost-benefit analysis that needs to be done with each one of these. So I was trying to come up with language that says we need to respect our environment, we need to respect our town character, but we also need to attract businesses. And some of these didn't make some sense. I mean, there was one of them that said provide goods and services that are needed locally, which provide an alternative to goods produced outside of our community region. Why? I mean, why wouldn't we want a business to come in here that supplies Virginia with peanuts or whatever? You know, if there's a market and we can provide for it, why not?
Okay, on page 16 of the plan, we list 9 different points here regarding
That's what I'm looking for.
under if Pownal
Right.
does receive an opportunity to host large-scale business enterprise, whether homegrown or from outside the area, it should consider the following values to protect the public health and safety, prevent negative environmental impacts, and improve the overall quality of life in Pownal.
And I underline that word consider. It should consider.
And then 1 through 9, I
That's
mean,
good.
pretty much Bob touches on almost everything that you said, with the exception of you're thinking that there's a different way that we're going to look at 15 jobs versus 500 jobs with regard to this 9 points, this criteria here. Am I understanding you correctly there?
That question's to me.
Yes.
Well, yes. What you would accept is you want to achieve most of the things on this list.
Correct.
No doubt.
With any employer. You're not going to. It doesn't matter how many jobs are going to
Correct.
provide. We're not going to pollute the water. We're not going to tear down the mountain and those sorts of
Pollute
things.
the air,
Right.
biomass.
Correct.
Right.
We think the opportunity for not achieving these objectives is much lower if you have a 2-employee home business as opposed to a 500-employee larger business. I think the larger business, we want to consider factors like these in considering.
Well, that's true,
Its
but some of them
location.
are like. Let's take the first one: maximize the use of local resources in a manner that does not deplete those resources nor disrupt the quality of life for our citizens. So,
You know,
Pretty vanilla.
pretty vanilla.
Yeah. Does it overburden
And I
your
think-
school? Does it overburden your fire department?
All 9 of
500
those
people.
are based on our history
It's based
in
on our history.
3.3.2.
And to your point, number 1, very much emphasizes what we went through with the proposed biomass plant, where it would have stripped trees and would have had over 125 trucks full of logs coming in and out of
Daily.
Right,
a
and we
50-mile
don't-
radius on a daily basis.
And we don't
So
want that.
That would compromise our way of life. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
we do not want that.
I agree with that.
So in
Right.
the paragraph
And I
before,
don't think I'm saying anything contrary to that.
okay, do we need to make any changes?
Why,
Well, that's the
why are
point.
you suggesting we strike all that language? 1 through 9.
Which is pretty important
because
language
it-
to this
Well,
planning
all right.
commission.
It has
I get
teeth. And to Mike Batch's point, we need to have points. We need to be specific. Otherwise, it's just
And we are basing it on our history. We're basing it on just not the biomass, but other things, including the racetrack and including
Right.
the tannery and the positions that it's left us in as a result.
But
We're
that's true.
being
That-
careful, but we're
And we don't want
We're
to
gonna explore.
overcompensate, because one thing you have to remember
And-
is the tannery and what was the other one?
biomass.
Biomass.
Racetrack.
Racetrack. Yeah, the racetrack. I'm sorry. Biomass and the racetrack did have some problems with it that we were left with, but it also brought
mean the
jobs,
tannery?
economic opportunity.
correct. And what we're saying
other
is we
things.
need a balance of those things, and we need to weigh those things in each opportunity. It has to be explored completely. We have to be cognizant of the lessons we learned, but appreciative of a potential opportunity that we're going
That's
to have.
exactly what I was trying to say.
And that's
here.
what this says.
And the larger the facility, the more scrutinizing we have to
Okay,
be.
can we walk through the 9 and I'll read them really
Quickly.
And then it'll be the egg timer wanting to go off.
Quickly.
Maximize use of local resources in a manner that does not deplete those resources. No, I guess I have no problem with that. Require energy efficient facilities and emphasize the use of local renewable energy sources. That's an added cost to a potential business. They already have a disincentive to being efficient
we're
because it's the
emphasizing
cost
that.
of doing business.
We're not requiring it. We're emphasizing it.
We're considering.
Okay. Number 3.
Emphasize use of existing vacant and underutilized sites for infill and redevelopment before proposing new development.
Yeah,
It absolutely makes sense.
absolutely.
Well, maybe not. I mean, if an employer comes in here and they have their own brand and they have their own kind of building and that sort of thing,
Okay,
but it
then
still
we might,
fits.
then we
But Bob,
consider it and say, on balance, you do your own brand right over there, build a new right in that farm field. Maybe.
Maybe.
But the prefix to all of this is the word consider and emphasize. It's not demanding. It's considered.
With the exception of number 4 where it says maintain, which I have no problem with, high standards of environmental
Can I
health.
make a suggestion?
Well, of course you can, that's what
So-
they pay you for.
Under 3.3.2, the resident-owned businesses and large employers,
Yes.
where Bob has crossed things out, that is a little negative about large employers.
Show me where he's crossed things out. 3.3.
While the town is proud of its existing local entrepreneurial enterprises. many-
Number 1 through 9.
No, I'm still at
No,
this
he's
first
going,
part.
he's
still
on
back here.
3.2.1, and I
Still
think
there,
you're right.
okay.
Where you cross it, it does kind of come off a bit negative on large employers. Yep. Okay. Got that so far? I'm not done yet.
I'm reading the
So
first
you're-
paragraph. Is that what you're referring
Yeah,
to
let's
right
see
here
where
in
he crossed out, what he
3.3.2?
crossed
Oh, yeah, while the town is
Right,
proud.
that's what
So
I
that part is a little negative. So my suggestion would be not to get rid of it, but to add what he put here, which kind of balances it out. Saying
3.3.2.
Right, that you would you would still welcome large employers.
Okay.
You're just recognizing that there are these issues that have come from the past, and then you can keep your points.
Kind of a question of
Basically, it
semantics. It
provides
eliminates
it-
some negative. Fine.
Provides
Fine,
a
I'm good.
balancing act.
We adopt-
So we're not eliminating everything you want
We
to
adopt
eliminate.
your
Yes, we like what you're saying.
Is that
Yes.
Right, because
Yeah.
then we're, and just to be clear, we're eliminating the part where it says that the.
no? We're
the-
keeping all this stuff.
No,
but
no, no.
We're using this
Hang
as
on,
a
let me
balance.
finish. We are eliminating the part where it says, bringing with it a significant number of new jobs and energy. The individuals are misplacing their trust in this. I mean, that's the paragraph that I thought was, we're never going to get big business or large employers to come to Pownal, and that's kind of what it says. Let me read that really quick. While the town is proud of its existing local entrepreneurial enterprises, many Pownal residents have spent much of the last couple of decades hoping that a larger employer would locate in the area, bringing with it a significant number of new jobs and energy
Right.
reminiscent of the town's manufacturing peak during the early to mid-century. However, reliance of out-of-state companies
It is
coming to the
negative.
area is misplaced. Now, all of that seems like inappropriate for a town plan.
It's unnecessary. We're learning from experience, and it's our feeling, but it doesn't need to be in here.
I'd
And it's
say
kind of that mindset
has
when you
been
come into the
misplaced.
net.
safely delete that. It's surplusage.
So delete.
Right.
Yeah.
What he's deleting
Delete what he deleted.
and insert this.
And insert his Pownal recognizes the benefit.
Okay,
And then
yeah.
keep the 1 through 9.
So
Perfect.
slow down.
Can we, and I'm almost with you, I would want to
I
get
know.
rid of 5.
You want to get rid of 5.
Provide goods and
Provide
services
goods
that
and
are
services
needed locally.
Why? I mean, if they do to provide it, great. If they don't, that's great too. If there's a market for something that's being produced and it's employing Pownal
You have
citizens,
just persuaded me. We did delete 5, keep everything else.
How about just putting, adding to it when appropriate, provide goods and services that are needed locally? When appropriate.
wouldn't you?
Right, you can't have it all. You can't say, I want to have a large plant here that only manufactures things that we use here.
You
But
can't.
I would say, I wouldn't even say when appropriate. I mean, I would object to that. It's, why do we care? If an employer is going to make anything and he can sell it anywhere, why would we care whether you're selling it here or somewhere else?
I think part of that is a reaction to a certain solar field here in Pownal that sells all of its
Electricity.
to Mount Snow.
Right.
Well, let's put that in the energy section.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's-
but-
these are
but
large
these-
employers.
These are, and although they're not large employers, they're not employing anyone.
Yeah,
They
really,
wanna-
it's pretty
Well, that's
fast.
what this is an employer, right? We're talking about what kind of employer.
Strike
we're gonna
number
talk.
5.
Strike number 5,
That's
let's
what
go.
I agreed to a
Yep.
long time ago, the
Right.
next timer's turn.
Speaking of strikes. No.
6 to 4 Yanks.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, we're taking the last part of that paragraph out.
Yeah, that he
We're taking it
Pownal
out.
recognizes.
We're adding the
keeping
language that he suggested,
Yeah.
that Bob suggested, and we're deleting number 5.
that. And we're going to
Yes.
have 1 through 8.
Employ local residents and pay a living wage.
Eh,
I mean, there's
We
already
only
a
win so
minimum.
much.
Yeah, that's it. Egg timer's up.
Timer went off.
You want us to employ outsiders and pay them less than living
Well,
wage.
Well,
have
you might
no
you might
problem
have
with
to. You
local
might have to.
residents,
So
but
let's just.
pay a
This is
living
easy.
wage
This is
is
easy.
a subjective term.
Strike
and
living
it's
wage.
already been-
Employ local residents when appropriate. Period.
Yeah.
When possible. Employ local residents
What number
when
are
at
you
all
talking about
possible.
now?
Boom. End.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Number 7, we're still in the same document.
I'm
too.
hoping with
I'm
minimum
gathering.
wage laws that, although they're not what I think they should be, but
Right,
I don't think we need to say living wage.
you're right.
I disagree. And
Okay.
living wage is not subjective. living wage is what you need to survive on.
Right.
And it may be different for different people.
Yeah.
Okay, so that does say to a large employer, hey, don't come in here and cut them down to the absolute
Well,
minimum.
let me ask you the other question, though, the flip side of that coin. Do you want the 500 jobs here, or do you want them to go well, they're not going to go to New York. But you want them to go to Montana? I mean,
My guess is that's not going to be a
You
sticking
want-
point.
it's-
We're not saying make
there
the
are
residents
minimum
wealthy.
wage laws.
We're not saying make them wealthy.
No, I
We would like a
understand.
little more for our citizens than just minimum wage, I think is what it says. Right?
Right, which
So we're
means you'll get
keeping
fewer
number
people
7.
employed.
So
you have to understand there's a cost to
XYZ
that.
Corp comes
If there's-
in and they're going to say, we'll work with you on that. They're not going to say, we're going elsewhere because we don't want to pay these people a living wage.
No, they're not going to say that. And you may never even hear from them. They may read this list and decide
be.
that there's 3 different towns I'm thinking of building in, and they won't even approach you.
Look what Google's. Is it Google? No, it's
Amazon.
Amazon.
Amazon thinking of moving.
Billions
New
in
Jersey's going to
tax,
pay them $9 billion to locate in.
which will put them,
Newark.
that municipality in the hole for 25 years.
Yeah.
As a
But
result
you're
of
right,
I
that,
wouldn't
just to
pay
get those jobs.
anybody to come here.
There's great
That's-
competition for new businesses.
Can
We're not even.
can we
there
just,
yet.
to make you both happy, can we just leave that one alone?
Yeah,
And just have
So-
1 through 8?
Yeah. Great.
Take that.
Everybody wants to go
So
to
number
heaven, but nobody
7
wants to
stay.
die.
Number 7 states.
Sorry.
Is that, everybody wants to go to Newark, but nobody wants to die?
No, everybody wants to go to heven, but nobody wants to die.
Oh, to get there, yeah.
Newark.
All right, number
G
15.
went to Boston.
Number 15.
Wharf.
No, you're all right. Go ahead.
We only got
Are you a Yankee fan, by the way, Bob? Is that why you're watching this?
no.
You're not?
No, I'm not.
You're not
I pulled it up
Houston
because
fan,
you had
are you?
that.
He's a
No,
Houston.
I'm
He's a Houston
Boston
fan.
fan.
Oh,
but,
that's all right.
They were out quick. Very disappointing season.
You can't win it every
So
year.
this was, which was this?
Number 15 is
Supporting activities such as the moonlight race / walk. Town government should be limited. Number, so we're, this is 3.3.4 and recreational activities. And you want us to get rid of the moonlight race / walk.
Well, I didn't
because
say
you
get rid
want-
of it. I said I really think we should be differentiating between what is appropriate for a volunteer group versus what should
Oh,
be town
supporting
sponsors.
activities as the moonlight race / walk. Revenants, I don't get it.
It
Town
kinda
government
just
should be
referencing-
limited.
It's referencing what we've already done, and similarly, we'd
Yes,
like other
exactly.
activities like that.
Suppose it was the cure for cancer walk. Instead of
Right,
moonlight.
that's what it used to be. We used to support
I
that,
mean,
right?
suppose it was anything.
I used to do that.
Alzheimer's
So
or-
we're using it as a reference point.
I'm not opposed to the activity, you understand. It's,
Right.
I'm trying to differentiate between what's
He's
appropriate.
opposing the idea that the town.
That the government might get involved.
Do it as opposed to volunteers.
Right, it seems like a volunteer activity that
Firemen.
could be
yeah,
sustained
but
that
the
way.
town does get asked for money.
Sure they
to
do.
support
Sure.
various things, so it's.
And there's
I
a
mean,
town recreation committee that's
Yeah.
sponsored by the town to think of these.
I
I didn't feel
recommend,
that strongly about it, so let's keep it in.
Okay.
I recommend we leave it. Okay. Important activities and should be supported. Yes, sir. 17 recommends that Pownal Center be given preference.
Wait, what do we do in number 16?
yeah, you do-
16
did.
blue.
Am I skipping ahead
So-
here?
Well,
Yeah,
if we're gonna leave it, you gotta tell us we're leaving it.
Hang on.
I'm
No,
trying to
that,
write, and he's.
nope, that
Yeah,
was,
we're- Julie and I are
I'm
trying to
starting to
keep
get a
track.
little tired and cranky because.
Are you really?
Yes, I
I
am.
can't understand why you would be, Julie.
I don't
oh,
know.
see, I thought that was part of 15. I
That's
apologize,
upon-
Julie.
that's upon 16.
Suggest the following
So-
in
Alright,
addition,
so
township
16 we're keeping.
that.
land
Well, we're
ownership
trying to keep
below
good records here,
3.3.5,
So we're
farming,
not changing.
geological.
No.
Hi.
Right.
Okay.
I only had a, yeah, I guess the comment, I didn't make any changes to 17, so there's just a comment there, there's nothing to do. I think we can move on to 18, right?
Okay.
No, 17 was you wanted to change the preference from Pownal Center to Pownal.
Yeah, you had talked about that.
Oh, wait a
Not,
minute,
I wasn't. That's in the village
Oh, I guess
designation.
my numbering is not the same as yours.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Right. 7. You had talked at the hearings,
skipping
Bob,
ahead.
about that Pownal Center should be given preference rather than Pownal or North. I think at that point you even said in North Pownal. Now,
No,
his-
I didn't say in North Pownell. It's Pownell Center because of, one is, I think, longstanding residents, just to start with, longstanding resident, well, I put the justification right here.
Right, so do you want to change your preference or not, I guess is what it comes down to the commission. You wanted it to be Pownell.
we wanted it to be Pownal because of one major.
So do you want to change?
I don't want to change it because it has water as well as sewer down there.
Okay.
And we want 3 village designations because of the way that this town is laid out, not one.
Yep.
And if we're going to emphasize one, it's going to be the one water, Michael.
I'm with
Okay.
you.
All right.
19
I can't
was,
even find where that is.
Pownal Economic Development Goal number 1.
Thank you.
Sure, the town government has the capabilities to implement economic development. Bob is scratching this, has the capabilities to implement economic development and other actions listed in this plan. And then he adds, is as business friendly as possible while keeping the tax burden of the citizens as low as possible to foster economic growth. And I'm thinking that is 3.4. Economic
3.4?
development.
No, 3.
3.4 is the general economic development goals, objectives, and actions.
Did we skip farming? And village well, we skipped farming. We didn't,
skip it,
and
they just
that's
said-
where
We didn't
village
skip it, we
designation
just
came
said
from.
it's staying.
So goal number 1 under economic development.
Yeah. Goal 1,
didn't-
economic growth
I-
should be encouraged in locally designated growth areas or employed to revitalize existing village and urban centers or both. And so Bob is suggesting here.
Oh.
Ooh, well, you
Did
know
we
what?
skip, we did skip 3.3.5. I don't see it in here.
3.3.5.
Should focus on keeping local.
Farming.
Yeah,
Well, I just thought we looked at it and
no, that was
for a
the
brief
previous
second.
one.
No,
That
no,
was
about
the-
farming.
The town should focus on keeping costs low.
A strong agricultural community, and just tell me quickly, Bob, what you're objecting to.
The only thing, I'm not objecting to anything, I added some language to the 3.3.5 farming. The only thing I took out, well, the one thing I did object to was that last line. Opportunities for institutional support for these values exist in the local school system where cafeterias could use locally grown produce, meats, and other food products as much as possible in providing healthy meals to students, which of course, I'm all in favor of buying local, but as far as
That's not a mandate.
mandate.
It's not a mandate.
no, I don't think it should be in the town plan, even if it's not a mandate.
Support for these
What you got to be
values.
doing with school, you have a state that has a huge in the red situation on their education dollars. If I wouldn't eliminate local
Bob,
food producers,
see,
but
the
it's
word
gotta be
exist.
cheaper ones.
The word exists is that it does exist within the school system already. We're just reiterating that. That's all. That's not. We're not discussing school costs or the rising school costs or anything else.
No,
It is.
that's not
It
what
is.
says. It says,
For institutional support for these values exist in the local school system.
where cafeterias could use locally grown
Right.
produce, meats, and other food products as much as possible in providing healthy meals. I think there's a sacred obligation to spend education dollars wisely, and that's the cheapest. Your education dollars aren't for supporting local businesses. I mean, that's just as simple as I can
The
put
kitchen
it.
has a
Some of
budget.
your
though. The other day, the kitchen ordered, somebody in the kitchen ordered a case of apples from Carpenter Hill, right? And they got rejected because they were too expensive. Things
Okay.
I know I don't need to know, but someone just suggested this, that they turned it back because it was too expensive, the case of apples.
Well, that's a
Well,
So it worked.
judicial use of their.
That was
well,
their
there you go.
prerogative.
That's
There you go.
Right. They
So,
tried to do local.
so we're not mandating it.
Right.
So
There was a-
they could
there was a
we could
cheaper
we
apple
could set this
somewhere.
entire thing up and have it all shipped back like the apples at Southern
Yeah,
Vermont,
please.
right? I mean, that's your point.
So
That's my
what,
point.
what
But if the-
changes are you making here?
But if the education,
I wasn't going to change anything.
there-
Bob really wants that entire
Are
section
you
struck.
suggesting,
no, I just want that sentence struck.
Right.
not
That,
the
no,
entire
no, that's what I mean. That last part, starting with the word
So we're not-
opportunities.
we're
You
not
want that
adding-
gone.
We're not adding this additional language, and we're not striking that last sentence. Is that where we're going?
It just seems to me that.
Bob
it's
added a
misuse
whole
of the-
section called,
Yeah,
in
right,
addition,
exactly.
the town should focus on keeping
Right. So
the
you,
cost of
are you
land
adding that
ownership
or
low.
not? Are you?
I don't think that's a town responsibility.
So then we're not changing the language. So
I would.
Sorry, did you say that again?
I don't
The
think it's-
language that I put in here is not a town responsibility?
I don't,
You don't think it's a town responsibility to be, to keep taxes low? Which is exactly what I'm saying, but you don't
you
think that's a
said
town
keep cost of
responsibility?
land ownership low.
Yes.
That's not keeping taxes low.
Land ownership only has one cost. It is what you pay in property
No,
tax.
it's what you pay
Additional
for.
town should focus on keeping the
capitalized
cost
over
of
the
land
total
ownership
owner.
low. How,
There are
And then
other
it-
costs.
then it's the
If you're,
government.
if you're producing land, if it's producing land, if you're somebody like me who lives up in the hills on the family property that's been there for generations,
focus on keeping
I
the cost of land ownership
load
low.
my
That's making-
fields out to local farmers, and if my cost of ownership goes too high, I can no longer do that.
Okay.
If
All right.
that
All right.
supports-
All right.
That supports the farming
I'm
community.
sorry to cut you off on that.
If the
We're
coach of
really
the San
splitting
Antonio
hairs
Spurs
over that
wants
one.
to buy a
really are.
farmer's field undeveloped and pay $750,000 for it. He did.
The reasons that farming
He owns
is
a piece of
reduced
And he paid $750,000.
exponentially here over the last 30 years, I don't believe has a lot to do with the cost of land.
Right.
Number one. Number two, I don't think that why would we have that in our town plan saying that we want to keep the cost of land low?
That's a town
We-
government getting involved in your business.
exactly.
No, it's
what
not. It's
you
the
don't
town
like.
government not getting involved in our business.
I-
If my taxes, property taxes go up every year, and they do.
But if you say the town should focus on keeping the cost of land ownership low, that's a directive.
Okay, I'm not here to argue really the tax base, Bob. All due respect, you've made some great points.
Yep.
I want that section to stand as is without any addition about discussion or any discussion about keeping the cost of land ownership low. I think that's an intrusion by the Planning Commission
Yeah.
more than anything.
It's not in our jurisdiction to do that.
I think it's, I think you're
I
speaking
don't
against
think-
your own interests.
I think you are.
Well, maybe I'm not wording it correctly, but you understand what I'm saying. If taxes continue to go up on a property like mine, I'm paying nearly $1,000 a month for taxes. Now, no one would ever thought that that's what you're going to be paying for taxes.
I think this.
And if that continues to go up, it's going to rival the mortgage. It's going to go higher than the mortgage.
Those are municipal
That
planning.
makes it. It's not me asking the government to do something. It's me asking the government to stop doing.
But look at all the factors that are involved in the reason your taxes are going up. Keeping the cost of land low is a small part of that.
Schools.
Schools,
10%,
the primary.
10% to 17%
the
insurance.
cost of
So
their
70% of the issue is the
resources,
school.
Yeah.
And
everything
we're
else.
focusing on an infinitesimal thing here, plus it's putting us in the
And a
position of
declining
pushing
population.
something which we don't want to do.
So
Well,
Okay.
it could be softer language.
we need.
I mean,
So what are we doing?
prudent with.
We're gonna leave that one.
What number are we on now? After
19,
farming,
according to-
And we're going to keep in the
3.4.
schools buying locally.
I
So
have
that's
no
all
problem
we-
because it's not a mandate,
Right.
and the school has the choice. If we think it's a good idea,
Then the question is obviously, why is it there? The school will decide where they're going to purchase from, and one of their options is locally.
I
one
think
of
we're
their
just
options is
encouraging
not
that,
locally.
right? I mean, I think we're just.
Well, again, it's encourage. What does encourage
You know,
mean
so-
when a government official says it?
Oh no,
It's
I-
not exactly the same as you're not going to put your arm around somebody and say, "Why don't you buy here?"
3.4? Is that where we're at?
economic development
Goals. Okay.
goals and objectives.
It's very much against
Number
that.
18. Number 19.
19, I have.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So, Bob states, assure that the town government has the capabilities to implement economic development and other actions listed in this plan is struck. and replaced is business friendly as possible while keeping the tax burden of the citizens as low as possible to foster economic growth.
Well, they
Now
has
that
the
makes more sense than the
capabilities.
prior, but in number 19, recommended response, the planning commission believes the town supports existing and new businesses, but must be proactive in seeking opportunities for the town.
Yeah, I think the basic point of the goal was that you're trying to build the capability of the town to support economic development, which you don't have much capacity right now.
We have none.
None. Correct.
Right, and I was being nice.
You were,
And
but we
how
have
do you
little to none.
support what you wanted to have happen if you don't build that capacity?
Right.
What do you mean by build capacity?
You need people who are going to do stuff.
You need people that are going to
need
sit on
bring-
economic boards, that are going to work with Bill Colvin, that are going to work with the Southern Vermont, the group in Brattleboro. We need citizens to do that.
We've got a meeting at the Legion coming
need
up with
to-
economic development.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
But-
need to bring businesses into the
Right,
area.
we're trying to.
Well, that's what these groups do. That's what, and they haven't really been formulated or worked from our level. They exist at the county level and the state level, but there's no liaison. There's nobody here in town that sits on an economic council or is liaison to all of those groups. That's what we need. That's in the implementation plan.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. Okay.
So you didn't want an economic development committee.
Say it again,
You
Michael.
didn't want an economic development committee. That was number 20.
Deletes Economic Development Committee.
And
Isn't that what you're doing? What are you doing for Empower Pownal? Is there an Economic Development Committee?
There's two of them. One is to what barriers exist to starting up new businesses.
Correct.
And there's another one that is incubate local
Okay.
businesses.
So there's the beginning of it, but you want number 20 deleted, where it says delete Economic Development Committee. And our response here is the Planning Commission believes an Economic Development Committee could support both regional and local efforts for economic development. Pretty important to this group of people sitting at this table.
Yeah, it's very important to everybody. So one of the
So
comments
what'd you have it in there for? You want us to delete it?
well, okay.
You want us to delete Economic Development Committee? Is your comment?
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
understand.
flummoxed by that. All right, can we move on then? If we all agree that it's all important. Okay, 21. The comment is deletes capital improvements plan and advocates for limiting unnecessary spending to keep taxes low.
It's not just about the taxes, it's also about the economic opportunity. The more that you go into debt, the more that you raise, there's capital expenditures. It's
Number 21.
putting the cart before the horse. You need to bring in economic opportunity in
Right,
order
but-
to be
but
able
you're-
to spend.
But what you deleted was the action, which is to establish a capital improvements plan. That's what I was.
Which is what number under the action?
Number 3, and we want to keep it.
Yes. Correct.
Here we go.
22, delete
Oh,
town
I'm
manager
sorry,
position.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to back up, and I'll do it quick on the egg timer. But going back on the deletion, I had a comment in here that explained my rationale. Only if it costs nothing is an entirely voluntary, was what I was saying about the economic
That was the goal.
development committee.
That's
Okay.
the goal.
And that's what I said on the comment.
Yep, good.
then-
So we can move
sorry, I
on.
had to find my comment. However, it should also be an ideologically diverse committee.
Well, I don't. I
Well,
guess I have to jump in.
We only have,
Because
nothing
I'm not
costs nothing.
recommending the.
we only have a certain gene pool.
No. But I mean, the formation of the committee costs nothing. It's what the
have to
actions that the
volunteer.
committee
Right.
takes could cost something.
Yeah.
They have to prove their
DNA.
point, right? They have to have a
Right.
proposal. The proposal has to be accepted.
5261.
Nothing's
I think I know somebody who's going to be on that Economic Development Committee as a volunteer.
That's right.
There
I
you
think
go.
that's probably true.
Yeah.
With opposing ideological,
That's right. He's going to diversify the ideological spread of the
but that's
committee.
okay.
Yeah.
Trust me, that's absolutely fine.
Right.
21, deletes capital improvements plan. So this was in relation to action plan number what?
It just seems like spending. I mean, it just seems like more spending without the economic growth first. The economic growth has to come first in order to have the money to spend.
Chicken
I mean,
or
it's just well, it's really not. It's a capital improvements plan to identify capital improvements such as sidewalks, bike paths, street lights. If you're thinking that those things are going to attract new businesses, to me that's just wishful thinking. If you're a business, you have to prove the ROI before you can start spending money.
But if you don't have some idea of what it will entail to create those things, then you don't know it's cost benefit. There's a cost benefit to doing them. You have to have some idea what they're going to cost.
We're not saying to spend it.
That's absolutely true. But
We're
it
having
doesn't say what
we-
it costs.
Capital
It says
improvements
it's
committee
a
to
capital
understand
expenditure.
what is out there.
Right.
5 years ago, when the Bennington County Industrial Corp was separate from the BCRC, we had the then director, Peter Ordiarna, come and speak to us, and he listed a lot of these things as prohibitive to, our question, why can't we get more business here? He listed the schools, and he listed infrastructure, and he listed lack of code enforcement and housing situations. So understand
As the
chicken and
reasons that
egg.
you couldn't get-
Some of the reasons that he was hearing as the head of the Bennington County Industrial Corporation as to why Pownal couldn't attract more viable businesses. So he was the expert at the time. I mean, he was a county guy trying to attract business for the entire county. So my hand's up. Why can't we get a piece of that action? And he didn't pull any punches. Boom, 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 boom. So you can see that reflected in here.
I hope he's right.
That's the purpose.
I'm not sure that he is.
No. He wasn't saying, blow your whole town budget on streetlights and stuff, but he said, wouldn't hurt.
Personally, I think we have some issues at the state level that we can't solve in here.
So number 23 was
23.
Bob wanted to change taking out productive and satisfying for employment opportunities. So that's your call. I don't know what you want to do there.
Wait, what did you do with the town manager?
We didn't do anything on town manager.
You're going to keep
I
it.
think our,
haven't done
I think
anything
our
either.
suggestion is an assessment.
Yeah, I thought there should be a town manager. So
And Berkshire County towns with 900 people have town managers. Or somebody who serves that purpose, maybe not full-time.
Some town managers are
admin-
shared.
A shared administrator among 2 or 3 towns works very well.
yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
And the town's already looking into it.
It's
Anyway,
publicity and looking into it.
yeah. Number 2, economic goal number 2, remove productive and satisfying for employment opportunities.
Not that I don't want them to be productive and satisfying. It's that's between the employer and the
Nor do you
employee.
want to be known as the guy who doesn't want them to be productive or satisfying. That's right.
But if it's productive if somebody's willing to pay for it, and it's satisfying if you're willing to work there. I mean that's between the employer and the employee.
So what's
how
the
do you-
harm of stating it? We're not requiring it.
We're not requiring
It's a
it.
goal.
Yeah, I think
Wouldn't it be
fluff is a
nice?
harm. If you're adding fluff just to add fluff, then
Well, I don't-
why put it in
I
there?
think you're
There is a reason
I
why
think
our
you're-
town plan is about twice as long as it used to be.
I think your editorial skills are excellent. And it is fluff.
I can't even find that in number 2.
It's
Somebody
goal-
help me out
he-
here.
He added it.
It's the
right
first
here.
thing in number 2. Provide strength and enhance a sustainable
Oh,
economy.
that attracts investment because tax base creates productive and satisfying employment opportunities.
I don't care that much.
I don't care either.
What do you want to do?
It wasn't
You want to get
I
rid of
didn't tell
that?
that
So
much
you
either.
don't
I
care
was just
if we have that in there or not. You don't.
Remember the Beach Boy song, Wouldn't It Be Nice?
What do you want to do?
Sustainable. Hang on, Michael. Yeah, creates productive,
I
satisfying.
don't want to miss the whole game.
No,
You've missed the whole
you're not
thing.
taping it, man? Come on.
Yeah.
No, I
Creates
don't
productive and
care.
satisfying
Yankees are the last
employment
team I want to win. Anyway.
opportunity. She's a New York, upper New York State guy.
Nah, Phillies fan. They
Oh.
they
Make a
really-
decision, Michael. Are we going to keep productive and satisfying or not? Egg timer.
Yeah,
if nobody's married to it, I'd
I'm-
prefer it was out.
but
mean, it's not-
but you could live with it if it stayed, right? Okay, it stays. Next.
Okay, next.
You can live with it, you're gonna die.
Did I misinterpret Bob's statement? Okay.
Adds an action to promote and support.
I'm
large
sorry, Bob.
employer opportunities.
That's all right.
So this goes back to the large employer.
We get a little punch drunk after a while here. We're
This
not,
goes back to the large employer.
Right.
that's
He's underlining. It's not striking.
24, yeah. He strikes maintain any substitutes attract a diverse economy that is welcoming to a broad range of employment opportunities. Well, as long as that broad range of employment opportunities coincides with the 9 points on the prior page.
8 points.
8. I forgot. You did get one out there. That I am fine. I'm fine with that.
You want to make this change?
Yes, attract a diverse economy that is welcoming to a broad. I like it.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Which way do we go here?
Actually better.
It is better.
Yep.
More better.
And like I said at the first meeting, it is much easier to come in here and edit stuff than it is to write it.
To write
to
it.
begin with.
Oh, listen.
So I fully understand that, and I fully appreciate that.
It's been rewritten. Time again. 20. Are we on 25?
Yes.
Or as 25. 25 amends action 1 as follows. Action 1, review and revise bylaws to ensure a mix of commercial and industrial uses, particularly in the downtown and village centers. Review and revise bylaws to ensure, and strike all that mixed stuff, and put in to ensure that Pownal is not discouraging economic growth while protecting the town character. That's an interesting statement in itself. This could include a mix of commercial and industrial sites, particularly in the downtown and village centers.
Well, I didn't be sure, right? Review and revise bylaws to ensure a mix of commercial and industrial uses, particularly in the downtown and village centers, is what I struck. And I left it as review and revise bylaws to ensure that Pownal is not discouraging economic growth while protecting our town character. It kind of says the same thing, but it's more of a,
Sorry.
Review and revise
Sorry.
bylaws.
this could include a mix of, and then I even added,
You
this
could-
could include a mix of commercial.
But we do have to review and revise the bylaws. I mean,
no,
whether
didn't strike
ensuring
that
a
part.
mix of
I didn't
commercial.
I didn't strike that part.
I think it's changed to fine.
So add what he's saying here, that Pownal is not discouraging economic growth. Yeah, that's fine.
To ensure that Pownal is not.
To ensure.
Yeah.
So,
Not that I disagree, I just want to make sure I understand it. So is this saying that you're not discouraging economic growth while at the same time protecting the town character? So in other words,
You're not going to discourage
While
it
at the
because
same
of the
time-
supposed town character.
Review and revise bylaws to ensure that Pownal is not discouraging economic growth
but is continuing.
while at the same time
Protecting.
protecting town.
That's,
character.
yeah, because the way
I
it
want to
was,
add that.
the way it's
While
written,
at the same
yeah.
time protecting.
yes.
okay,
And that's the way I got it. That's how I had
yeah,
it.
Well,
pretty much.
Yeah, I,
Doesn't quite say
I
that.
saw that, but it seemed
No,
like a
that
little
Pownal
fuzzy.
is not discourage economic growth while protecting the town. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Right.
Yours is clearer.
Right.
But that is what I meant.
I
Read
know-
what I
I
meant,
knew
don't
that.
read what I wrote.
I do.
So you want to reinforce the town character
don't-
and not subjugate that to economic growth? Is that what you're saying?
While,
No, no, I want both.
But
I'm recognizing that there's a balance between economic growth and maintaining our town character.
Right.
However,
Whoever that may be.
Well, it's Pat Gray and it's Dollar General.
so hang on. So also, you conclude in your addition, this could include a mix of commercial and industrial uses, particularly in the downtown and village areas.
So I'm actually
that's
putting
fine.
that back in.
It
That's
does
what you
that.
had originally.
that's fine.
So you want to keep that language?
That's what our bylaw does,
I
anyway.
understand, but I think saying
Okay,
it's
so
fine.
it's a vision. Okay,
So I'm sorry.
so go ahead and put his changes in there.
So keep his
Number
changes
25.
while at the same time, and just in
Yeah.
hand.
Just add while
You're
at the same
adding-
time.
So we're taking out the stuff about commercial industrial. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there is the final sentence that says this could include a mix. The original
Correct.
was
Yeah,
reviews
he
and
just
revised
turns it
bylaws.
around
yeah,
toward
sure.
the- toward
I
the
got
end.
that. Yeah.
So you're going to take it out of the beginning
Yep.
and revise the bylaws.
Sorry.
I think his suggestions on number 2 are acceptable as well.
So number 26, make that change.
No, I'm in action number 2. He made
Review and
changes.
revise
Right, but if we
bylaws
go back to
supports
the
the
whole
development and
thing.
expansion of home-based businesses and cottage industries.
I know. Hey, that's how I spend my day.
God bless you.
Or you,
It sucks to be me.
I think you kind of love it, actually.
No, I don't.
Suggest following change. Develop a design guideline for commercial industrial. But they're not limited to. Okay, so I'm on 26. Is that where we are? We're coming up with a response to
I
26.
think, no, I think we have to talk about
25. Men's action.
You just
Review
did-
and
I thought
revise.
we
We just did.
did 25.
That's the one that you just
Well, you're Tuesday.
said that.
We're
I was
keeping-
way the hell up here, Michael.
Oh, say,
Broad range of businesses.
here, review and revise bylaws to ensure a mix of commercial. This is the one we were just discussing, and
Yeah.
I thought you were eloquent when you said,
I-
okay, add his Pownal
But-
is not
but then look
discouraging.
at-
I'm not,
But then look at the next.
we're looking at
sentence.
different things.
Yes, together.
We're looking at
different things.
He also changes number 2.
And number 2 is review and revise bylaws to support the development and expansion of home-based
Right.
businesses and cottage.
And he changes it to broad range of business and economic opportunities,
including home-based businesses, cottage
Fine.
industries, as
I like
well
it.
as
And I-
manufacturing and other
And you
large
like that.
employers.
And I said, fine.
Okay.
It did seem that we were favoring smaller businesses and discouraging large ones. Okay.
Right.
Close it.
Good point.
We'll figure it out somehow.
It'll all
I'll
come
put
together.
stuff together and then you
We are
look at
going
it.
to the liquor store, I can tell you
Well,
that.
The
yeah,
liquor
It's
store.
closed.
I tried that last time. It was closed.
You tried on the way home?
Yeah, it was-
I
Get
can
a couple
tell
of
you I have
roadies?
keys to a liquor place.
I think Rick lives the closest. We could go to his house.
Plenty there.
Well, on this number 26,
Get to it.
Suggest point change.
I think the added language that you want to do kind of makes sense. I just think saying that what the design guidelines are kind of for, I would leave that in there. That they're for parking, sidewalks, streetscapes and stuff, as opposed to just design guidelines. That seems a little fuzzy.
Included, but are not limited to.
Right.
Well, that means
Standards.
that they will be there. That this is a minimum then.
Develop
Yeah,
design.
yeah, but it's giving an idea of whoever's developing the bylaw, what they're developing the bylaw for, when they come up with these good design guidelines.
Yeah. I don't see any issue with it. And
But,
just
but,
develop.
but, but, but your additional language is the while ensuring the standards do not create an undue burden on potential employers seems reasonable.
So keep it all.
Keep it all,
Keep,
yes.
keep the initial, but also include the while ensuring. I'm fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Not that I have.
Well, ensuring the standards do not create an undue burden
Veto authority.
on potential employers.
As
Trying to
evidenced
address your
by the
comments,
ones we
that's all the
blew
point
past.
is.
Okay, yeah, I'm good with that. So in essence, you don't want somebody coming in and saying, well, you can move here as long as you put sidewalks all over the place, and they go, no, not interested in that. Okay. 27, delete actions 4 and 5 here.
Yeah, like the tourist information thing.
Well, just that it seemed like an unnecessary expenditure. And most people who stop at tourist spots don't visit the town. They stop at the tourist spots on their way up to Killing.
Hang on. We talking about 4 and 5 through available economic programs promote Pownal as an appealing place for retirees, second home buyers.
That was in there too, I thought.
Oh, sorry. I must have.
And 5, assess the viability of developing a tourist information center along Route 7 with public restroom facilities. Assess the viability of a proposal to create innovative promotional materials, including development, regular updating of town website. Done. We got one done. Town website. Now we just have to feed it that information.
You notice that Bob has stricken number 4 in its entirety and stricken the first sentence of number 5.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I was
You're
just
all
reading
right.
those. I was refreshing our memory as to what they were.
Here we go. Hard time keeping
Do you want to keep them or make a change?
Yeah. I mean, has everybody read number 4? Is anybody having an objection to it? Does anybody agree with Bob on this one?
I don't agree with Bob on this.
Through available economic development programs, promote Pownal as an appealing place for retirees and second home buyers.
I think
Well-
as far as marketing or anything like that,
Quality culture
economic
venues,
development
ski areas.
through marketing, it's important to market to all people. It's important to say that there are jobs here. It's important to say there's great vistas here, and there's great skiing,
hang on,
and there's
this
great
wasn't-
biking, and there's a great potential for a second home.
Okay,
and
tell
if
us-
you like culture nearby, there's Williamstown.
No,
Tell
I'm
us-
not saying
tell
it's
us why
not a
you're
great place to
deleting.
live. These are all many of the reasons I live here.
Right.
What we're doing is marketing this as a second home or a retirement. But in the other housing sections, we're trying to encourage downtown and more compact growth. So it seemed to me that we were
We're not
allowing
directing.
sprawl.
We're not
We're not
directing.
directing
We're
it.
not directing second home buyers to build on raw land.
We're not. They can move downtown.
They can do what they
downtown.
want to do.
Absolutely.
They can move downtown.
Absolutely.
You're
Well,
assuming that
and
that's what they're
and,
going to
and
want.
if we attract people to build,
The likelihood, Bob.
Somewhere else.
That's just it's
The
not
likelihood
likely.
is-
If you're attracting,
Look where you
you're
built, look where I
attracting
built.
more wealthy people, and they're not going to live downtown. They're going to take advantage of Pownal's views. They absolutely, that's what they're going to do.
Look at they moved into Cable Mills. Wealthy people moved into Cable Mills in Williamstown. That's downtown Williamstown. Do we have a similar situation like that? We have old houses that people might want to restore and love that potentiality of living there, especially if there's other goods and services to come about.
Here
That's-
it would be a much more. That's a college town. That's a completely
They may or
different
may
town.
they may not have anything to do with the college, but we're close enough that
But-
you can consider this as a college
Well,
town
if
too, because
somebody-
enough people employed by the
a
college.
lot of
live here.
people that are
Bob is
employed.
pointing.
No.
Bob is pointing out a dichotomy which exists in the plan, which is that we are urging development in places that have water and sewer in downtown, because that's where we want to encourage development.
I understand.
Yet we're marketing to second homers, and the likelihood is that second home buyers are
I
going to
think
build.
that's conjecture. I think that maybe they will buy out there and maybe they won't. But for us to limit in their head that this is a great place to have
Okay.
peace of mind and to have culture is short-sighting the economic viability of this town.
I disagree, and the reason I disagree is
Okay.
because we're if you're appealing to second home buyers and retirees, retirees would be more likely to live downtown. Second home buyers are very unlikely to do that in Pownal. I can understand why they would do it where there's a Williams College festival, where there's
Williams College
Spring
gym.
Street, yeah, and all those other amenities down in Williamstown. But this is nothing like Williamstown.
maybe there will be
They
some-
can take advantage of that
We
while they
can
live
take
here.
advantage of it.
They could take
But
advantage
I'm
of
not
it.
asking them not to.
Sure.
They're going to build in. You have a whole bunch of stuff in the housing section that is to discourage sprawl. In this section, you're encouraging sprawl depending on the type of person who buys the house.
I think that's conjecture. I think it's important to put in the mind for marketing purposes and for the economic viability of this town that this is a good second home
Egg
place.
timer just turned over.
Yeah.
That's what I
just want
think.
to try something. Do you think there should be should the town encourage new residents or keep the population the same?
No, I think we should encourage new residents. We
What
want
if
to
we
bring
just
people
made it
here.
new residents?
Just change the words to new residents.
To new residents,
Good
fine.
for you. Yep.
And we don't want to pigeonhole them all into one place or the other.
That's actually
work,
really
Richard?
good.
We're not close the door.
Yeah, see? Bingo.
That's-
New residents.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. The timer is.
Big bucks there.
Egg
we
timer
got
just
some-
turned over. Are
Could you
you?
speak up sooner?
Section 25,
Well, no, I was
27.
took me a while to realize that you're
It-
targeting the types of residents.
Okay.
Where we just want more residents.
All right, real quick, what's the matter with a tourist information center?
I just said it's expenditure that is not going to create. I seriously doubt it's going to.
So even if we get the state to pay for it, you feel that
Well,
you're still paying for it
I know
anyway.
you went to
Somebody's
Bennington.
paying for it, and if
Yeah, what a shame.
somebody has to break the cycle of everybody competes for the big pool of money, otherwise the big pool of money
How,
gets bigger.
how
and bigger
about
and bigger.
how about
We
this?
all pay
If
into it.
in that
So-
tourist information center, Bob, they are directed to local,
That's the point.
to the store,
That
drive me
to the
nuts.
bike pass, to the recreation facilities, and they spend money here in Pownal instead of
No, they
zipping
should-
straight
They
through.
should take that building.
Well,
That's
okay,
the goal.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
You drive by it too.
Because
When
it's
you
on
go
town estate land.
seventh,
It's
when you're heading up to Manchester, and you've got that
Stop
big
there all the
welcome,
time.
it's always
I've never
up
been
there.
in it.
Another
It's
garage.
always
Another
up
garage.
That was a
Every
mistake.
15
That was totally different. Look where it sits.
But
Look where it
it's not
sits.
just well, all right.
And it is, by the way, and it's not easy to get to. I don't think.
No, it isn't.
And when you exit it, you can't go south. You can only go north. So I don't know about all
You
the
could- you
design
could go
flaws there.
east.
Now we're not talking about this grand 3-story thing.
No.
We're talking about a small, and they have them. I'll tell you who has a beautiful one is Newport, and they have just a small clapboard building that they have a volunteer in there with brochures. Here's our hiking trails. Here's our biking trails. Oh, stop at Winchester's and get a sandwich.
Gasland would have been the perfect
That's all we're.
place.
That's all we're looking for. That's all that we're
It's
advocating
marketing
here.
the
We're
town.
not.
Sure.
I'd be willing to
And I
take
left
a
in all of the
collection
marketing
here
of the town.
to pay
I
for
Real
it.
didn't-
estate
strike
brochures, that,
any
all
of
that.
I didn't strike any of that. It
But
was
that
just
would
the
help to
building of
market the
building.
town in a real brick and mortar way.
By the way, they
Almost
stopped at
done.
Winchester's anyway.
Okay, we're getting
Stop
there.
at Winchester's anyway, he says.
We're getting there.
You just turn into a tourist trap.
I'm just telling you, the whole weekend.
We'd like to keep the availability, the possibility of a small, affordable tourist information center. Number 28, suggest the following changes under Goal 3. Goal 3, where's Goal 3? Here it is, right down here. And Goal 3 says, use the extensive natural, scenic, and recreational resources to provide recreational opportunities for both Pownal residents and visitors. And Bob is saying, suggest the following.
He only wants to promote businesses, not events.
Promote recreational, get rid of events, recreational businesses.
Business
But some of
oppor-
those events might
business
not constitute a business,
Yeah.
and it may be something that comes to town once in a while that also
Like a bike race.
fosters, like
Could
what?
create
Like a
business.
bike race.
Yeah.
Like a car show, like a bike
car
race,
show.
like a car
Yeah,
show.
It creates visibility.
So we can say recreational events
businesses.
and business
Opportunities.
and
Yeah.
business opportunities. Okay,
I'm good with that.
we all right? Number 29 is delete Pownal economic goal number 4 and subsequent actions. Goal number 4 is to support art and cultural You're not the first person who said this, by the way. Cultural activities, including both local artists and connections with regional art and cultural institutions. The objective is to support the arts and culture as a distinctive component of the local and regional economy and promote
So I
public
just assumed you wanted to
appreciation.
keep all that stuff.
Well, but,
Yeah.
and my comment on it was to understand the rationale.
Where is
Spending town resources on the arts is wrong and shows favoritism. The arts will benefit from the same actions that would welcome other businesses. There is plenty here for volunteer groups to help with, but not taxpayers. The town plan should be for the needs of all residents, not explicitly targeting some at the expense of others. Which is
And
what I
hear
see.
you, but I work with them for 6 months now, and they are very into this.
Yep.
This is very.
There is something that we did not invent, but it's going from Bennington to North Adams. It's called the Cultural Corridor, and it's something that's being emphasized from North Adams all the way to North Bennington. And it's a structure. It's more amorphous in certain places than in others, like right here. So what we're going for is our strengths. One of our strengths is our beauty, our picturesque beauty. You can't argue with that. Come here because it's a great view. It's a nice place to live. Those are givens. It's also not a given and not totally visible that there's a tremendous art influence in this whole region. And what we want to bring to the forefront is that we're a connector for all of that, because it can only be to the common good. It's preferential only in the fact that it would bring more people here and help the economy theoretically. And that's not a bad thing for anybody's business, whether you have a garage or you're selling sandwiches.
Well, that was my point. Whether you have a garage. or
Right,
selling
so
sandwiches.
what we're bringing
But
to the
we're saying
forefront.
cars.
The first 10 pages of this have been other businesses,
Right.
large
We're
and
bringing
small,
to the forefront
and
that
farms.
this is, we live in a cultural
That's
corridor.
true. I think
Let's
with the other
emphasize
changes,
it.
this is
Sure.
This is,
So-
this is
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is a
no one is
no-brainer.
going to read this and say, man,
have
they only want
location
art
also.
galleries
Yeah.
here.
I move we keep our original language as is.
There's a motion there.
I
We have a second?
No
Second.
objection.
No objection. All those in favor? Aye.
No
Okay.
objection, and I have no power.
That's not.
Someday
You have
You
wrought
have-
a lot of changes.
Yeah,
just
you
by-
have
just by being
the
persistent
power
and
of the
being-
pen, my friend.
Being persuasive.
All right. Do we tackle Fred Miller stuff tonight?
No,
Come on.
There's only one.
There's like one section.
I'm going home.
There's only,
We'll lose our quorum.
I can
right?
make it.
1,
sim-
2,
Sid, I can make it really simple.
All right,
Yes.
make it really
let's,
simple.
Let's wrap
Should we
this.
excuse Bob first before we move
Oh,
on?
if you don't want to.
No, he might want to sit and listen.
Oh, he's allowed to do whatever he wants to do, okay.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, we appreciate your input.
Yep.
So thank you.
So many of the comments he made, you've already addressed with respect to some of the energy
did.
section changes. And you're going to, once this plan is adopted,
We are going to recommend against wind on the ridges.
yes,
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
yes,
Right.
Done.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you're gonna develop a revised energy
With-
plan section
right,
anyway.
right. And we touched on this last
And the
night.
state's
So the
put
only
the
major
decibel level at
change he
36
suggests
already.
is
Is that-
that you have a list of
At night.
unique natural areas like Figure Rocks and the like, and he would like
Those
to
other
add the
people-
Conics.
Those other people
Done.
That's
working.
Conic.
Okay, so
What's
the
that?
only thing
There's
I need
other
to
people
do
things going
is
on,
check
too.
his numbers, because he has elevations and stuff.
Wind is
Just
dead.
make sure it's
Okay,
correct.
so you look into that, make sure they jive with what's really there,
Yeah.
and
I
then go
move
ahead
the
and add
Fred
it.
Miller suggestions as recounted by Mike Batcher be adopted.
Second.
Any further discussion on Fred Miller's
Now,
comments?
before you go running
Why
off,
did we?
Wait, none.
We're gonna-
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay.
so on this, I didn't get all the verbatim changes. I'm gonna have to add those here, and then you guys should take a look at it and make sure I didn't
We probably
miss
should.
anything.
And what was
And
your
then
question,
we're
Julie?
gonna have to revise the plan, so you have to look at those language changes too. So you're gonna have a lot that you have to look at very carefully, because Michael is not that good at
And then we have to revise
Catching
the
it.
implementation plan. We have to revise
That-
several of the
accordingly.
goals.
that. I'll do too.
Okay, and we'll
Julie and
just,
Jewel and I are gonna, her
We-
notes and my notes, we'll pull that
we
together.
will promise you that we will be diligent in going through
Yeah,
line by line
yeah.
this plan.
The
And
changes will be obvious, correct?
people like Mr. Jarvis will
So-
have a crack
so if
at it,
I-
and Rebecca and several other people. So
Have I told you? Well, never. I should tell you a story about not being diligent
Have I
about
told
plans
you
and stuff.
lately that I love you? Is that what you were going to
Is
say?
that-
No, I was going to tell a story, but I will tell it at a different time.
yeah, because we are. I think I know the story you're going to tell. I know what you're going to. You've told me that story, and
Yeah, I told
I'll
you that
remind you
story.
we are on
I
Cat
told you that
TV,
story.
and it does concern another
Another plan,
municipality.
and
yeah.
how people didn't look very carefully
They didn't look.
at the changes that were in there. And don't
Sometimes
think-
he throws
and
something
don't
in there
think-
from a different
and
municipality
don't
just
think
to
I
see if
won't
we're on our
s-
toes. You know.
Don't think
Like-
I won't sneak that in there. Just
I
to
know.
say.
All right. And think of how embarrassed I'll be if we fail that test.
You
Like,
have something you wanted to say.
No, no,
You're all
Something about a
talked out.
motion being made to close.
no, I just.
I
wanna
will
know-
accept a motion to adjourn.
No, you're not yet.
Okay, sorry.
Are you kidding? I just said, no. I want to know, are we doing the work session on November 14th at 6:30?
Yes.
Is 6:30 okay?
Yes.
And thanks for your
Well,
comment.
wait. Double check the calendar, because we might not have a quorum again.
But it was quite a challenge.
Oh,
to try to
Christ, you're right. I better check myself.
Yeah.
Hang on,
November
everybody.
16th?
No, they're
create a
saying
document that
14th.
people
They
can
said
say,
the
okay, this is what I
14th.
said. this
Because
is
we
what
can't do the
commission
7th, because that's election.
response.
So is the
Whether they agree
14th
with
the
it or
Right.
not,
following
they will know
Tuesday?
they were heard.
Close to vote.
Because the regular
That's-
meeting's the
That's what I was
21st.
trying to do.
I
with comment too,
can
too.
actually do the
So that's part of
14th.
what that I was trying to do.
So,
When you distributed it. It actually
so
looks better
November
to say that
14th.
you
I'm
do
wide
it
open. I'm good.
So can we do 6:30?
Comments
6:30
like
is
this.
fine. That gives
Yeah.
you a little more
I
opportunity
know
to
it.
get here.
So
It
these are-
makes you push.
Wait,
this
wait a
is where I
second,
need
what
to
are we
figure out
saying?
Exactly what we mean by the
I want to do a
The
work
14th.
session on the 14th, because we can't do the 7th.
We can't do the first Tuesday because of elections
One
Right.
thing to say something.
or
is
the
something
vote
to
for
define it.
Act 46. So,
So I want to do the 14th at 6:30.
6:30, okay.
um,
And then the regular meeting is the 21st at 7.
can we tentatively schedule a public hearing based on our conclusion? Michael, are we close enough to get a middle of December public hearing to review after we've posted it on the website, highlighted the areas that we've changed, put in people's comments so that they can review that we addressed each and everybody's comments to the best we could? Will we have all that done if we announce like a mid-December public hearing?
You
Now-
guys need to predict the future. I guess
Look
I'm
in
a
your
planner,
crystal
I'm
ball.
supposed to do that.
Well, we can always cancel it because the public hearings for these plans can be no more than 30 days
No, it,
from adoption of the plan. So that's gone already, but it can't be less than 15 days warned, my understanding.
well, I think we're not. This is not required. The public hearing was not required as part of the statute for adopting a plan. This was basically to let people know. Okay, we heard you. Now this is what we were saying in
Well,
response.
then let's
So
stick
it
with
wasn't-
I thought we were putting responses on the town website.
Right, and
Right, but
this
we
was
were
my
gonna-
point last week.
My suggestion at the time was that you had 2 public hearings.
Yeah.
You got a lot of comments.
Yeah.
Now, rather than just put a bunch of responses on the website, you should have another hearing and tell people, let people respond to what you've responded.
Whoa.
But then the select
sure
board
you
does the
heard
same thing.
No,
No,
but we're the ones who are doing the plan, so if you think that's,
It's not required, but
I
I think it's a
understand.
The
really,
select
really
board
good
would
idea.
prefer
That's why- and you
that
did-
that happen, I
And you
think.
did say you're going to have a hearing, and I think the idea is that
I did. I announced that.
Well, if you did, then we have to do
Yeah,
it.
but it doesn't. But the 30-day period. That's
That doesn't,
Wait,
that's
no,
only
that
when
was
we
only
first
when we
adopt
it's
the
just a
draft.
public hearing.
it's just a public
Yeah,
hearing.
okay.
That's only
Because
when we
you got-
first adopt
You
the
got so
draft.
many. You got so many people come out. How could you then say, okay, fine?
And usually when I do a
look at it on
public
the web.
hearing, I do 15 days for a public hearing.
Right, and we're not going to physically write to everybody, so it is only fair. Like, if you didn't have a chance to go to the town website and look at our responses, then here we are tonight. Here's our
Yes, but I
responses.
thought we were
Yeah, and I don't
doing-
think you have to go through them one by one with the people either. I think you said
No,
here,
we
you
were
had a
gonna-
chance to look.
Right, this is the
Right.
plan overall. You can
Right.
find your
Here's
piece
how
in
we
it or
responded
not.
to
That's
it.
it. I mean, that'd be, we
Okay.
hear from.
So-
And don't ask for anything new. We're not asking,
But
looking for
we
new
need-
stuff.
Right. But we
That-
still
that-
gotta do our
that ship has sailed.
No, you,
That ship has sailed. We're not,
You're
Before
getting
we
more
put it
than,
to the
so anyway, you are
website
having a
and
meeting on the 14th
email.
at 6:30. So anyway, the answer to
November
the question
14th,
is,
6:30.
I think, provided you have everything, you get a chance to look at everything on the 14th, and you do, and then
we have another meeting on the 21st.
we need some time to put that all together so it can go on the
strong
web.
statement.
Yeah, Julie's talking about a statement of some kind has to be put together.
Cass, remember we were gonna do a strong statement saying that these are our blah blah changes, da 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 da.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
We
Well-
just said it at last night's meeting.
A strong statement.
Yes, that
To accompany, to
right.
go on
That
the
we weren't gonna
website.
go.
Oh, to go on the website.
Yes.
Shannon's
that we weren't
suggestion
going-
was a little bit of background on
Yeah, I'm all right.
what the planning commission does and then how we responded to it.
Right,
All
that
right.
we were gonna put it on the website, and that you might not have all your
Oh, that's fine.
suggested
That-
changes, but we still gotta do that.
But that'll accompany when we get it all done and it goes to the website. So
Yes,
we have time
yes,
to prepare that.
yes.
Well, yeah, but
that's
oh,
fine.
I'm thinking
Your wife
we're
called
going-
My
Nell-
wife's thinking
Nell
I'm
called
lay-
to make sure you
she's
were-
out there thinking I'm laying out there for the.
Oh,
by
it's
myself.
Falling off your walker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she called.
Yeah.
See, my
That's
wife
so
didn't
nice
call,
of
so
her.
she knows I didn't
Wow.
fall.
Okay, so somewhere in the middle, let's start to think about a public hearing somewhere in the middle of December for this. At the conclusion of that public hearing, assuming it goes okay, at the conclusion of that, I would like to, that night, if possible, I think we can, because that
Yeah.
means that we have an
Yeah,
adopted
that's
plan. We can, we
Yeah,
can,
you can
we can
resolve
resolve to
it.
give it to the
Yeah.
select board, and then let them have their two public hearings.
Mhm.
So that'll be part of the agenda for that public hearing. First, public input, and then on to the select board.
Thanks for being on Christmas.
Bob.
Quick question. So for the mid-December public hearing that you're talking about, we are talking about, Mike, I think you were talking about putting together the feedback prior to that, so people can read it,
Yeah.
and then they come in prepared.
It'll
be on
we
the
don't have to
website.
go through.
That's
every-
correct.
right.
It'll be on the
We hope not
website.
to go through everything.
We
We
hope
hope they will have read it on the website.
I can guarantee
And
that some of
I-
us will.
Sure.
Right, and
Well,
I'm
we will
still
publicize it on
emailing
the
them.
forum, too.
Right, but I'm still gonna do, once we do that, I'm still emailing everybody that gave us their email address at the public hearing, so they get notification of it, because not everybody has the computer.
Correct. About the public hearing, you mean? Or
No,
about the fact
our
that it's on,
changes and all that there'll be a hard copy. I'm
hard
gonna-
copies, come by and look at a hard copy.
And I'm putting them,
No,
not
that's a good
everybody
idea.
has computers.
If you have,
and-
if you have time for that, I would
Well,
appreciate
can
it.
make
Can,
time
can it be
because
put
I'm
on the
not getting
website?
our-
Can it be put on the website that each person will not be responded to separately, but it's
That's
it would
why
be
I
within,
said we need a
and then
strong
and at the
statement.
beginning of the public hearing.
But here are the responses.
At the beginning of the public hearing, Mike, for you to say the same thing. Herein lies your changes. We're not going to address each of you individually. I mean, we just can't keep going on doing that. But here are the changes, that we spoke about
Yeah.
on the website. If you didn't have a chance, that's why we're meeting tonight.
Right. Yeah, that would be my intention
Okay.
at that stage.
If I have to, I will bring a copy down to the mobile home park.
That'd be great.
And the park manager can have a couple copies on hand, and the residents that live in the mobile home park can go to his house when they pay their rent and review the plan.
Or
I-
on the
or-
counter
well, no,
at Winchester's.
you know
Right,
what I'm
because they're
just
not
saying.
computerized.
No, I totally
Right.
get it. That's
Right.
fine.
And then
Right,
that way we're
right.
You're not gonna see the
excluding
response though,
anybody
because we're
and
not closing
whole
the
night.
parks. That
Okay.
issue's over.
I
If
mean,
you don't mind
I-
doing that, I think
No,
that's a
you have
great
to
idea.
work
That
with
is a great
people.
idea.
Yeah, that's
Only
good.
because,
They're gonna say we ignored them.
that's
How
right.
many, I'm sorry, to just
Go
go, how many people gave you comments?
There were probably 30
wow.
plus.
More than expected.
Yeah, some were just statements, but a lot of them were comments. Some very, very good, which we've already taken action on. We've already had 2 work sessions prior to our regular meeting here.
Yeah, I separated them out into 38 separate comments.
Yeah, I was
Included
gonna
some of
say there's
yours.
38,
Well,
39.
including some of yours, and then we had written comments as well. So we had oral comments at those two meetings,
I'm
and
sorry,
then
that's what I meant.
Will the chair hear a motion to adjourn? So
we're
moved.
still discussing.
Second.
Anything else? All those in favor of saying good night?
Good night.
Good night.